Ladies and gentlemen, we will start the meeting now. My name is Victor Ayala. I am the Vice President. We've got word that the President will be coming in late, so I will be residing as President, interim President, until she arrives. So at this time, I would like to welcome everyone to the LA 32 Neighborhood Council Joint Board meeting. And okay. We're going to start with Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Manzano, can you please lead us off with that?
Please stand.
Please stand.
Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we're going to take roll call. Mr. Manzano, can you please go forward with that?
Hugo Pacheco. Tom Williams. Augie Rodriguez. Cynthia Sandoval. Reverend Manuel Chacon.
Here.
Jerry Troy Carbajal. Anthony Manzano. I'm here. Victor June Ayala.
Here.
Yoli Garcia. Jennifer Markowitz.
I'm here, but there's a correction. I'm actually appointed as the the north representative, not the east. So I need to correct that. I'm sorry, I misspoke. The north representative is what I was appointed to do.
Yes. And Markovich. Thank you.
Markovich.
Michelle Carzantes.
Here.
Ruben Chavez. Angela Duarte.
Present.
Marlene Fonseca. Hugo Pacheco.
Here.
Hugo Pacheco will be indicated as 1 minute late, but he is present. We do have a quorum of 8 members here at the meeting this evening.
Okay, we have quorum now, so we will go forward with the meeting. So at this time, we'll go with public comment. We only have one public comment card. Is there anyone else that has any public comment on non-agenda items at this time? Anyone else? Can you please submit your card, please? Before waiting for them, we have a Cesar Estrada. Sir, will you come up and put your comment? Okay. That's fine. You know what, just go ahead, you have as much time as you need.
Okay. 10 minutes or now? Hello everyone. Good afternoon, good evening.
Can you speak in the
Turn it
microphone?
on.
There you go.
Test. So I'm here because, oh, by the way, I'm Cesar Estrada with the All American War Veterans. And I'm here because we have this project of initiative of helping the homeless veterans to housing. And it's a big dream of, it's an initiative of bringing home the California Lottery to create a barricade to finance the homelessness veterans and same as for the chronic homelessness. So I've been reading a lot about newspapers and I just I had a chance of reading the Beacon and I found something new that here in El Cerrito or especially the Valley Boulevard, they need bus shelters. And that's what our like a main project that it could sustain this our effort to bring California Library here in California, especially in Los Angeles and all the vicinities. So we'd like to start on the bus shelters. Bus shelters are a good avenue to create advertising. So we're targeting bus shelter first, but the goal is to move on to buses, like Metro or Alhambra bus and some other community buses around here. But we're moving on away to not just bus shelters, buses, but trains and maybe airports or airways, who knows. But that's the stretch goal, but we just need to start the bus shelter first. And we found that Calstain LA is a good project, and we found that on Valley Boulevard there's a needs of bus shelters also. So we'd like to push our project to be here first. And the goal is maybe a showcase maybe at Cal State LA. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming. George Cabrera?
Good evening, members of the board, audience, and dignitaries. I'd like to start out with, in our last issue, the February, March issue, we have a deadline coming up, and that's going to be scheduled for March 10th. So if you have any stories or articles or would like to share advertising, our deadline is just a few days away. Today's March 2nd, so it's about, 8 days away, March 2nd. Okay, and we're trying to elaborate, or let's say we're trying to structurize our paper more with the next issue. More than likely, we will have titles on there on our next issue. Okay, the next thing is on Sunday, March 13th, Dino's Bomb Squad is having the blessing of the bikes and bombs. That's going to be over at Lincoln Park from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., rain or shine. And if you're interested, I have flyers in the back of the table there. The next is Wilson High School is having a concert and car show. It's also presented by the magazine Our Town and presented by Psychopath. And I also have cards here. And if you're interested, the date is on Saturday, April 16th. I believe they're going to have cars, bikes, and categories on there. And the information is on here too. And my last one, Michelle, I have something that Luis wanted me to share with you, but I'll pass it on to Michelle at the meeting. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, George. Any more public comments at this time? Non-agenda items, public comment? Okay, moving on. Scheduled announcements and presentation, 5 minutes each. Speaker series, public privacy entity with projects and services for the community. Public safety and parks, I don't see LAPD here, but we do have the fire department here.
You want the council office to go first?
It's up to you guys, whoever's up first, as long as you guys both here. Yeah. I think that I have
Good evening, board. Please excuse my bag. My name is David Spence. I am one of the 3 battalion chiefs assigned to the Battalion 2 area of the city of Los Angeles, which incorporates El Sereno. I'm the guy that's been warning you about El Nino. You're welcome for the sunshine. However, the prognosticators are telling us that rain is coming. It's supposed to start on Sunday, and we're supposedly going to have the wettest March that we've had in at least a decade. Of course, they said that about February and January and December as well. But we still have sand and sandbags available if anybody needs them. Please make sure that you contact your local station. Fire Station 47 on the corner of Huntington Drive South and Monterey Road has sand and sandbags available for you. The only other item I'd like to bring to your attention is that on Saturday, March the 12th, we're having a Fire Department Career Expo. If anybody knows anybody that would be interested in joining the Los Angeles Fire Department, this would be a great opportunity for them to come out and find out what the fire department's all about. I have flyers that I'll leave with the board. And if you would like to direct someone to, for some information, they can go to joinlafd.org. That's joinlafd.org, and that website would give them all the information that they would need in order to join the Los Angeles Fire Department, including the Career Expo that's coming up. May I answer any questions for anyone?
Where's the expo at?
The expo is going to be, that's a very good question, 1700 Stadium Way. That's our training center. It's our Frank Hodgkin Memorial Training Center. It's right by Dodger Stadium, off the Dodger Stadium off-ramp there. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay, I'll see from the congressional, the ones from the governor's office. I think CD14, you're up.
Good evening. My name is Susie Lopez, one of the field deputies for Councilmember Rizar and El Sereno. So a few announcements. Just wanted to thank the Alley 32 Beautification Committee for their participation this past month in cleaning up the Rose Hill area. The next cleanup is scheduled at the El Sereno Arroyo Playground for Honor Your Park Day. That's going to take place on March 19th at 10 a.m. Regarding Easter, we have a few Easter egg hunts. One will be at the Rose Hill Rec Center. That's going to take place Saturday, March 19th, and the time is from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. There will be another Easter egg hunt in the one that normally takes place at the El Sereno Park will be at Guardia Park, and that's going to be Saturday, March 26th. And the reason why it's being held at Guardia Park this year is because of the current El Sereno Park improvements that are going on, with the focus on baseball fields and batting cages, which should be completed by late April of this year. Another update, not sure if some of you have noticed, but the parklet on Huntington Drive has been removed. So, and it's not going to be replaced, it's just removed. And we are focused on a bike corral that's going to be placed right across near our office. That should be installed in April as well. For the moment, we did install about 2 weeks ago a new repair bike station. That is only unlocked during business hours, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And we also have a staff member from Barrio Action that is unlocking it on Saturdays as well, during business hours only. The accident that happened on Eastern and Ruth Swiggett last month, our office met with Rec and Parks Maintenance, and they will install pylon barriers on that corner and possibly on the other corner of Thomas in the next few weeks. We're currently working on that, and there will also be some restriping done. Regarding the medical marijuana dispensary on Valley, that has been shut down by the city attorney's office for non-compliance at their office, and their office will be following up to make sure that they stay closed. And that is it. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, which place on Valley, the three of them?
The one, if you're exit the freeway, the one on the right-hand side. It's all green.
The one by the freeway?
Yes. As you make a left, you'll see it on your right-hand side. That is it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, excuse me, there are two of them, and both of them, as far as I can see, are shut down.
Well,
One is near Valley Food.
I'm referring on the one to the right-hand side as you exit the freeway. That's the one I'm talking about.
Is it next to the
Okay, how about the
credit
one on the left-hand
Yes.
side, a
Yes.
couple
union?
blocks?
Okay, the one by the credit union.
Yes. Yes, that one. That's the one I'm
Okay, the one
referring
by
to.
the credit union is the big green building,
Yes.
whereas the one on the left-hand side, as you exit the freeway, is
Well, they're
next?
all as you exit the freeway, but I'm referring when you exit the freeway to make a left, it's on your right-hand side.
Okay, what's the
By the
status
train.
on the one that's next to Valley Food, next
I
to
could
the
look
new
into
book-
that, and if you want to contact our office, and we could update you. I don't have an update for that right now.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Question about what was the experience with the parklet?
As
Failed?
to,
The parklet that was down on Huntington Drive that was removed in front of.
it was just removed, so
Yeah.
there's not going to be replaced or anything like that. It wasn't in good condition.
Yeah,
So, does that answer your question?
yeah, just wondered why.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you have any questions, the staff from City 14 are right behind you. You can get their cards and you can ask them to follow up after if you like. Thank you. Mr. Gonzalez, can you please take note that Mrs. Yoli Garcia is present and Mr. Chavez is now coming in?
Yes, they'll be included as the tabulation for the record, and arrived at 6:15, Ruben Chavez 6:20.
See, there's no more public figures here, so we'll go to, oh, I'm sorry. Gomez, right? Sorry about that.
That's okay. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Roberto Gama. I work for Assemblymember Jimmy Gomez, who's your state rep in the State Assembly. I just wanted to report, I want to give an update on some legislation that's kind of carried over for since the last year. It was AB 908, is Paid Family Leave Act. He carried a bill to go ahead and expand it, and it's looking promising, so the state senate's going to be voting on it. We're hopeful that it'll get out, at which point it's going to be going to the assembly floor, so we got our fingers crossed. What this bill is going to do is go ahead and expand the amount of money that is serving as allowing individuals to take time off of work. Currently it's 50% of whatever salary or hourly that you're making. So we're going to go ahead and expand that anywhere from 65 to 70% of the pay. And it's basically allowing individuals that are already paying into a fund to go ahead and access the funds that they're paying into. If you're a lower income wage worker, you're not allowed to access this money because you can't, it's not viable to go ahead and make a living off of, half of whatever minimum wage is right now, $9, I believe. So we're looking to expand that. Other than that, I wanted to give a report on a couple of events. We had a healthcare enrollment fair in January. We were able to sign up some families. That was here locally in El Sereno, is at Barrio Action. And then the next event that we're hoping to have here is a community meet and greet. We don't have a date yet, but it's looking like it might be either April or September. And then we're going to be having meet and greets throughout the district. So the next one that's scheduled is in Echo Park, and that'll be April 2nd. There's also going to be an event, the LA Job Fair. That will be taking place March 19th, and it's with the LA Dodgers. It'll be from 10 to 1 p.m., and it'll be at the Dodger Stadium. I can also drop off flyers if anybody's interested.
We can send you the PDF or the JPEG, and I'll put it on our website and Facebook.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Other than that, thank you for your time, and if anybody has any questions, I'll be over in the back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Are the figures out there? No one? Okay. Mr. Chavez? Will you please?
I have to go to the restroom.
Okay, we'll go to committee reports at this time. Executive Committee, Marlene Fonseca is not here at this time. Sports and Recreation, Yoli, you have any reports at this time that you want to land use, Ms. Fonseca, she's not here. Beautification Committee, as the councilman staff had mentioned, I'm the chairperson for the Beautification Committee, and it was a great outcome, the cleanup that we had. I'd like to take this time to thank City 14 for all their efforts and for the volunteers that came out that day. We had about maybe, I say, about 200, maybe 100 volunteers. It was a great turnout. We cleaned up, say, about a couple of blocks of the community Rose Hills, and the community Rose Hills really appreciated it. So I'd like to thank CD14 at this time and all the volunteers who showed up that day. So thanks again, CD14.
Outstanding.
Arts and Culture, Ms. Fonseca, she's not here. Membership and Outreach Committee, Mr. Manzano, do you have anything to report at this time?
The committee did have a joint meeting with the Elections Committee about a week ago at Cesar Chavez Elementary School. There was no recommendations brought forth by the committee, just that it was part of the consideration that each of the directors here on the board participate in the election outreach. We would suggest that each director take, there we go, thank you, 100 of these flyers to announce in their communities, local activities, neighbors, friends, family, whatever they could do to participate and be inclusive in the election process. So part of the outreach committee is to have this body be engaged with the participation, and not just a few of us taking action, but every single board member taking action. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manzano. Public Safety Committee, I'm the chairperson for that committee. I have no report at this time. Business and Economic, that committee is, the chair is vacant at this time. Environmental Green Committee, that's also vacant. The Bylaw Committee, Mr. Pacheco, do you have any report at this time?
This is okay. No real report, but I believe that you had questions about the bylaws at one of the meetings that came up by Jennifer, and there's been some other questions relating to talking to the city attorney on a current issue that we have. The problem with having a bylaws committee right now is that anything that we do right now would probably not be approved. So the only thing I can think of is if the committee wants to get together with the idea that this would be for the next term, because our term's going to end pretty soon here. So we don't even have time if we were to make any suggestions to get it through the system. But if somebody wants to get together and at least make recommendations, that hopefully the next administration would take up. I have a problem having a meeting. But again, whether this would be efficient to do this at this time, or just be a waste of time, that I've seen a lot of waste of time lately. Thank you.
Okay, I do have a comment on that. Since there was a question from a director regarding some questions regarding the city attorney, is it possible just to have a meeting to address that issue as far as the questions that are being sent to the city attorney's office, so that we get clarification on that?
Well, I would think that we could get together as a committee, but then again, we would probably have to turn this over, all of our questions, to the legal liaison. Again, the committee does not communicate with the city attorney. It's a legal liaison, so again, it's a 2 or 3 step process.
Thank you, Mr. Pacheco.
The problems that I see in the bylaws from the ad hoc election committee perspective, I don't see it being much of a problem to correct the bylaws, simply because there's just some inconsistencies that are not really changes to the bylaws, but a correction of inconsistencies. So that really shouldn't take months to correct. I mean, it seems like a committee meeting would be appropriate to just make those corrections. Or even, you know, I can forward them to you. I'm not even sure it's necessary to have a full meeting about it.
That is correct, but there can be discussion at this time. So, and I agree with her that, you know, there is some inconsistency with the bylaws that I would like to see the bylaw committee enforce some of the rules and regulations that we have. And that's part of the rules of the bylaw committee, is to enforce some of the rules and regulations that we have. And I would like to see if maybe the committee can meet to, we can discuss these, the board letter, if that's not possible. Mr. Chavez.
Excuse me, my apologies to everyone for my being tardy here today. Regarding the issue, as I think I feel it, I was talking to some people that done up at the 10th floor, City Hall, regarding the bylaws committee and Mr. Pacheco being the chair of that. And even though we have the moratorium, as most of us know, if not all of us, know that we can't do this and do that regarding bylaws till that's lifted. The feeling was that Mr. Pacheco can meet and tweak wherever it needs to be tweaked at our current bylaws that we have, and add to whatever needs to be done to address some of the situations that we have here today. What we're supposed to address doesn't look like we're going to, is what I can see so far. But Mr. Pacheco is free to do that. At the last executive meeting that we have, you executive board members that were there, you also, since we couldn't talk about it, but we could listen, what I heard you executive officers this past meeting we had, trying to encourage Mr. Pacheco to start something going with his committee, and also can form an ad hoc committee and start working in that process. So when this thing is lifted, he's already have a template or something that could be incorporated into the present bylaws.
Okay, thank you for your comment. I'll leave that up to the chair of the committee if he chooses to go forward with that.
Can I make one more comment? Can someone briefly make a statement for the stakeholders why there's a moratorium on us changing the bylaws?
I have no idea about a moratorium. I do know that there is a process that would probably put us beyond our term. Now, I have no idea about this moratorium. But what I find troubling is that we have an ordinary board member who's able to speak to the 10th floor. I, as a committee chair of the bylaws, don't seem to have that privilege. And so I would prefer to have the legal liaison and or the representative dealing with the 10th floor actually talk to me. I'm not very comfortable in having a board member tell me that I can or cannot do something, or that we're in a moratorium, and I'm not even sure about what that's all about. Okay, so we could have a meeting. Jennifer, please send me the information, and then I'll get the committee together and, see what they want to do.
I have a question. Are we doing discussion on this? Are we discussing
this? Are we discussing, or are we just giving a report or questions? So we could give comments on the reports? I could have sworn we couldn't give reports, only reports. I just wanted to clear so we know, because if it is, then I want to give comments on this too.
Sure, go ahead.
But my understanding, we're not supposed to, it's just a report? Is it just a report?
You're free to.
No, it's supposed to be just a report, I believe, so I'm not sure.
If I could, I believe that the chair has the right to do more or less, unless one of us challenges what the chair is doing. I don't see anybody challenging the chair in its ruling to allow us to talk. Again, that's my understanding of parliamentary procedure and as well as bylaws. Obviously, we've been told other things, which, again, I don't agree, but then that's the chair. The chair can decide at this point.
Well, I'd like to respond to his comments you made.
You know what, there's no more comments on this. We're just going to report, and we're going to leave it up to the chairperson of that committee to, if we want to go forward with that. With that said, let me see. The Education Committee is vacant. The Budget and Finance Committee, Michelle, do you have any report on?
Mr. President.
No comment on budget and finance.
Thank you.
I have a point of what's it called, Mr. Pacheco, when you, a point of order or a point of clearance regarding clarify the statement. Okay, DUN is open from Monday through Friday, I believe from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. to the entire public and any board member from all 95 NCs to go up there and see. Where we cannot go is to talk to legal. That has to be from someone appointed by the board or any of you executive board members to talk to legal. But the rest of us can go up to the 10th floor and talk to them about whatever we have to want to talk to them. And if our area representative happens to be in there, they will call him and he or she will hear us. If that's not in there, they'll bring someone to hear whatever we have to say. So anybody can go to DUN at any time. It's open.
Okay, thank you for your comment, Mr. Chavez. The ad hoc standing rules committee, that's vacant. Ad hoc inventory committee, Michelle, do you want further on that?
Yes. Ad hoc inventory, we discussed when we returned, the former vice president returned the laptop, and we found a CD in there. So we emailed her asking her if she used it personally. She said no. So we just discussed amongst the committee that we're gonna email that to the entity. It looks like Margaret Joan versus County Kern versus Langston, which is like a legal documents and a deposition of 100 pages. How did that get in there? I have no idea, but it came like that when the former vice president returned the laptop, and she clearly stated on an email that she did not use it for personal use. So we discussed that we were just gonna let the city attorney know what do we do with that CD, because that is like legal documents, you know, what do we do with that CD? Do we return it to who? So we were gonna just send it to the city attorney and ask his guidance about that. And I think that's it for now. The rest we'll hear on the other motions. Thank you. And I don't see, Sir, Chair, I don't see election committee on here. We do have some reports.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that, so I didn't see that.
Would I be able to do a report if it's
Sure, even though it's not on the agenda, you can put it in the report on that.
So with the elections, we've already sent out our first postcard, which is this one. We sent out on February 23rd, 7,334, because we're only allowed to send 5,000. The U.S. Post Office only allows 5,000 a day. So we sent 4,734. Why not 5,000? Because when you click on the areas, it goes over 5,000, so I stayed under the 5,000. On February 24th, we sent 4,958 of these. And on February 25th, we mailed out 4,259, which is a total of 13,951 households guaranteed got this in their mailbox. So hopefully they answer to the call to be a candidate to run for elections on this board. And we are going to do that with another postcard, which is a reminder to vote, and a brochure, which is the candidates and a small description of why we should run for them. But we are doing good, and we do have these, if anybody wants to take some and help us do some outreach, or if you know somebody who would like to run for the board. And we do have, we currently have 5 people, because they do give us an update of the names that are running, so we know exactly how many we have and for what regions they are running for. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, for the report. Approval of the minutes. Approval of the minutes from meeting of the General Board held on February the 3rd, 2016, and special meeting of the General Board held on February 19, 2016.
I move the motion.
Do we have the copies of the board minutes?
For item number 6, I did find those minutes and sent them out late this afternoon. I do not have physical copies to provide to the board, which would be for the meeting of February the 3rd and for February the 19th. It was a collaboration of uniting or unifying the data that I had accumulated for recording the minutes of that date, and they were completed today. Sorry for not printing them out. I don't have a printer, and I sent them out actually late, so the person with a printer did not able to provide them a physical copy. But each of the directors did get it via email this evening, earlier this evening.
Can we table it for the next meeting? So I'll make a motion to table meeting minutes from the General Board February 3rd and February 19th until our next meeting.
I second it.
Motion by Angela, second by Mr. Chavez. All in favor of the motion?
We don't have public comment.
Right. Any public comment on approval of the minutes? Public? No? Directors? So the motion was read, second by Chavez. All those in favor of the motion? Any opposed? No opposed? No abstention?
Said yes? What's Marlene's vote?
She commented as yes, I only counted 9.
Do you want me to call by name, so it's easier?
Yeah, easier.
There was only one abstention, everything else is yes.
10-0-1. Motion passes. Next would be the treasury report regarding LA 32 NC finances, discussion possible action for approval of the LA 32 neighborhood council monthly expenditure report for February 2016. Michelle, do you have the?
Yes.
Thank you.
Let me bring it up on the screen. So the monthly report for the month of February 2016. We have for operational was a total of $204. Elections was $4,367.88, which totals a total of $4,571.88. And it was for operational was the ink, and election was the postcard, and the UP at the United States Postal Office, the purchase to send it out.
So board members, if you can take a look up what's on the screen there, so any questions regarding the expenditure report?
We don't have it here? No problem.
So those three totals, 4,737, all those ones that you mentioned earlier, right? About the postcard?
And also too, I emailed you, every time the treasurer purchases something with a card, I email you guys the board vote and the receipt and the draft of the artwork and everything. So you guys should always be getting that every time the treasurer purchases something. So you guys should have receipts of all this through your emails, because I'm sending it always through email to you guys.
Okay, board members, if there's no any more discussion? Stakeholders, public comment on the expenditure report? No comment?
I'll make a motion to approve the monthly expenditure report. I'll make a motion to approve the monthly expenditure report as presented.
I second that.
Okay, motion by Angela, second by Mr. Chavez. Board members, public comment, sorry, any public comment? Nothing yet, nothing for the expenditure report? Anyone? No comment? So it was motion, second. All in favor of the motion?
That should be roll call.
You had the vote.
It's a roll call.
Mr. Manzano?
I'll transfer the notes to them. Hugo Pacheco?
Yes.
Tom Williams, absent. Augie Rodriguez, absent. Cynthia Sandoval? Manuel Chacon?
Here.
Anthony Manzano?
Yes.
Victor Junayala?
Yes.
Yoli Garcia?
Yes.
Jennifer Markridge,
Abstain.
Michelle Corsantes, yes. Ruben Chavez,
Yes.
Angela Duarte,
Yes.
Marlene Fonseca. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Motion passes 10-0-3. 10-0-1.
Yeah, you're at 10-0-1.
We only have 2 absentees out of the entire 15 members?
There's 11 members and there's 14, so there's 3 missing.
No vacancies? Thank you.
Thank you for the report, Michelle. Okay, now going to old business. This is item number 8. And this is discussion and possible action regarding the submission of attachment 1 through 7 pages stakeholder petition for LA 32 NC bylaw, Article Section 2. Article 8, Section 2, stakeholder Joshua Martinez submitted at least 50 stakeholder signatures with the following initiative. Motion that LA 32 Neighborhood Council censure President Marlene Fonseca for numerous violations of conduct, including but not limited to Brown Act violation 54954.2, actions items not on the agenda, 54960.1, not curring a violation within 30 days. Bylaw Article 5, Section 7, non-removal of directors and using own discretion when setting agendas.
I move the motion.
Chair?
I'll second it.
The name on the petitioner is Joshua Corsantes.
Corsantes.
Not Cortines.
I'm sorry.
I still second I still make the motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Chavez and second by Ms. Fonseca. Public comment? Any public comment at this time?
Regarding
Yeah, sorry if I missed it, but what has actually been moved?
It's on the agenda number 8 right here.
number 8 up on the top there.
That this person be censured?
Maybe you should explain what a stakeholder initiative is to the public.
This is a stakeholder initiative that a stakeholder submitted regarding there's bylaws that we
Right,
have.
asking for the censure
Correct?
of your president, right?
Yes,
Okay, based on certain violations.
yes.
What has actually been moved? That this censure be completed?
That the motion be heard.
That the motion be heard.
Oh, so it's just a motion
the
to
process.
hear this matter.
Correct.
Thank you.
So at this time, I would like to bring forth the petitioner who submitted the petition. Joshua, can you please come forward?
Point of clarification.
Sure.
I need a ruling from the chair. The stakeholder has brought up an issue here as to whether or not we're voting to hear. In other words, the way it's been stated by the stakeholder, or explained to the stakeholder, is that we're making a motion to be, whether or not we should listen to this. It didn't say, the way it's been explained, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's not a motion to censure, it's whether or not we should hear these 2 individuals. So we can't do that yet. They can't speak until we decide that they can speak, according to the way you just ruled.
If I may clarify, I was asking exactly, specifically, what the motion dealt with. Whether it was a motion to censure, or if it was a motion to hear arguments for or against censure. Nothing more than that.
Okay, that's fine.
Wasn't the motion made, or is it written? It isn't saying here. It's usually we hear it, right? The motion has been made, so now we're gonna discuss the actual motion and the presentation as part of it.
Yes.
Normally, a stakeholder initiative is the motion that's already been moved
quote unquote moved by the number of stakeholders who signed the petition. So I don't believe that we need to move to hear the motion. We have to hear the motion. So what they're gonna do, I don't know what.
The motion has been made, we're gonna hear the presentation, have discussion, and then vote.
And then you vote on the motion, yes.
We usually do.
Yes. So we're good, right? Everyone go? All right, it is.
Chair, I am.
Joshua?
Good evening, directors. I would please like to ask Mr. Chair here if we can have a brief 3-minute recess, because I do have a projector and sound that I would like to connect as part of my presentation, and I would also like to ask how much time do I have?
Okay, you will have 10 minutes each. You will have 10 minutes to present your evidence. And we will take a 5-minute recess so that you may go ahead and go forward with setting up your...
I'm sorry, with the recess, can you set up while we continue other business? Is that acceptable or no?
We have a motion on the floor.
Okay.
So we're going to recess for 5 minutes so that by Joshua to get his evidence and his recorder together, set up. So we recess for 5 minutes.
I'm not sure yet.
They always do it every other day, but I think just because they got money to do one of their officers, they got somebody. But during we don't provide a it just gets incorporated. No, the census just was their just because we do it nationwide. We also have this in but we always tell so
Okay, directors, can you please take your seats? 5 minutes is up. Mr. Cortez, you ready? Thank you. You have 10 minutes. Please go forward with your presentation.
Good evening, board. Sorry, I wanted to provide paper documentation and speech for all you guys, but I actually forgot that as part of my stack, and I usually got mine. So I'm going to go ahead and just read it off my computer. All right. So hello, board. Thank you very much for taking the time and hearing me in my petition, especially even attempting to hold a special meeting for this even last month. I know you're all volunteer and understand how much time being on this board can take. The reason why I'm submitting this is not to take legal action against this board, all right, but rather to remind you guys of your oath. At the beginning of this term, I was understanding of mistakes and things of that nature. It happens, people are still learning, and I understand, okay? I was solely with this board when, you know, we would have public comment here and people getting mad at mistakes and things of that nature, all right? But after returning about 1.5 years later, I was truly disappointed at what I saw. And I want to remind you guys of the code of conduct you all agreed to upon when becoming board members. Number 9 states that you will commit to learn the applicable laws that govern neighborhood councils, including state constitution, legislation, Brown Act, city charter, city ordinances, ethics rules, and the NC bylaws and standing rules. And it adds that you will not knowingly violate any of these rules at any time. Now, I don't expect anyone to know the entire state constitution and legislations and whatnot, but I think that taking on this role, you should at least try to learn and follow your bylaws, your Brown Act, and Robert's rules on conducting meetings. Even this I know is a lot, but I think after 1.5 years into your term, you should be pretty familiar with these. And because of this is why I brought forth this censure. I think your president or chair, out of anyone else, should know these things to the best of their knowledge. I am not attempting to bring forth this censure and file a lawsuit or anything of that nature, as I said earlier, even though I can, but rather to remind the president that this is what she signed up when nominations came about. She needs to ensure that meetings run as smooth as possible, that your board functions to ensure that all the areas of 90032 are impacted by the work of this board. I know that some directors were commenting as well as to the vagueness of my petitions, so I just want to let you know the reason why this was. This is because I only had a maximum of 50 words to create my petition. So I would now like to clarify, explain, and provide you with evidence of my accusations. Before I begin, I would also like to remind you that my petition states including but not limited to, meaning that there have been numerous other violations that have occurred in the last few months. But I wanted to focus solely on these in my petition. For the first one, Brown Act violation 54954.2, action on items not on agenda, I would like to pass out attachment A. You guys can please all take one and pass it down. Thank you very much. This is your agenda for your executive committee's meeting on September 28th. On this agenda, there were 2 items listed to be heard, which were a movie night and a public storage size change. At this meeting, there was a public comment stated by the organization Derby Dolls asking for a letter of support from their neighborhood council. As a result, this was then placed on the agenda for a board vote on the October meeting. My issue is not with the Derby Dolls, as I'm sure they're a fine organization. But Brown Act states that you cannot take action on items not on the agenda, meaning that a motion at the executive committee cannot come out of a public comment at that same executive committee. Your president should know this. Now, the president may try to counter this by saying this was an emergency as they were meeting with a council member later that week. I would now refer you to attachment B. Thank you very much, sir. In 54954.2, the Brown Act states, and you will see this in bolded. 54954.2, Brown Act states that all items must be placed on the agenda and the Derby Dolls were not. It will also let you know what you need to write in the agenda, as you will see where I bolded the font. It will also show you how to write your agenda. It also states that no items will be heard not appearing on the agenda. It also states, however, it is okay to put an item on an agenda if it is considered an emergency, which is bolded for you as well. But the Brown Act clearly defines what an emergency situation is and refers to section 54956.5 on what constitutes an emergency. You'll also see that in bold. You can now read in that section that a meeting with a public official does not constitute an emergency. This is more for natural disasters or things of that nature. This is why I'm stated in my petition that the president is using her own discretion in setting agenda items. At the time, then stakeholder Anthony Manzano gave the board a Brown Act grievance, which you will find in attachment C. This leads me to the second part of my petition. Section 54960.1 states that after receiving a letter, a Brown Act violation must be cured or corrected within 30 days of said violation. This was not done. There's also in your Brown Act there, okay, you'll see entire sections and bolded areas with all my reference points to attachment C. This also occurred once again in your October executive committee meeting, which I will get to later. Also, as far as Brown Act violation goes, here's attachment D, which is a Brown Act violation that I advise the entire board of. As you can see by her reply, Marlene took fault to these Brown Act violations and yet did not cure or correct these as well. For the next section, Bylaw Article 5, Section 7, non-removal of directors. I know this has been a widely discussed topic, so I do not want to further drag this on and get straight to the facts. Here's attachment E, which is a copy of your bylaws, which states that you must remove any directors with 2 consecutive absences or if they have 3 in a year. And here's attachment F. Which is an email from the president to 2 former board members that was given to me by one of them, excusing them from the board, citing your bylaws that because of 2 consecutive absences or 3 in a year, they are no longer a member of LA 32. Unfortunately, though, this was not the case for 3 current board members, June Ayala, Augie Rodriguez, and Ruben Chavez. I understand that Augie resigned and then came back on the board, but the fact that your president allowed you guys as a board to decide whether June Ayala stays or goes was wrong. Now, I know that she will probably counter this by saying she was not keeping a tally and therefore is not responsible. But I want to remind you that once again, this is her role as president. Even after it was brought to her attention, nothing was done. I personally like these three individuals, but is it fair that you always make time to make it to a meeting, and now let's say you can't? All of a sudden, it is now up to the president to decide whether you are automatically off the board or let your peers decide. I don't think that's fair to you, the board members, and to the community at large that the president has the power to decide your fate on this board. It should be up to you. And now, since Ruben Chavez was not part of the original discussion, will she allow him, in light of this information, to continue to stay on as board member? For the last part of my petition, using own discretion when setting agenda, I would like to play for you the following video clips of the executive meeting I witnessed. I do not have clips of the Derby dolls, as that meeting was not recorded, but would like to explain to you what I mean. The first clip, she is telling them, a stakeholder, Anthony Manzano, that the Derby dolls is considered an emergency because they were meeting with the councilman and it is okay because it was not funding related.
Because it is out of my jurisdiction, I mean, I prefer to go to public safety, but if it's time sensitive, the Derby dolls is time sensitive because they had a meeting with the councilman the following day. That's time sensitive. There's no time to go back to public safety, have a meeting with them to come back. So that's why it's
I would say that. So as you can see from the Brown Act, this is false. And she is the one who came up with the fact that it is okay due to it not being funded related on her own with no backup whatsoever, based on the grievance filed. This next video, 54 seconds in, she states that based on his grievance, that she decided that only things that are time sensitive and don't require funding will be considered emergencies.
You would like to ask the executive committee to put that motion forward? You gotta do a public safety for that.
I'm following the process. And you'll see this about 54 seconds in.
Executive committee did last month, so I'm not going to be here. There's a lot of urgent stuff to do outside, and I'm following the process that was indicated, so I'm here to ask the executive officers to put an item on the agenda.
So you're asking us to put up to, funding up to $200,000?
$2,000 for certain equipment, specifically for certain equipment.
Is anybody willing to? I'll move it. You'll move the motion? Yeah. Come on.
Second. Otherwise it dies.
Is somebody gonna second it? Anthony, because of the grievances that you filed on this, specifically told people if you're asking if it's gonna include funding, there's gonna be things that we discuss and put on agendas that are time sensitive, but we're trying not to do anything that includes funding.
Okay, well, I have oversight.
Because on my response to your grievance, I specifically said to you that that's how we would handle things from now on. Anything time sensitive and they're not requiring funding.
I know there's stuff that might not require funding. I'm just trying to follow the process and the agenda says 10 items, so I'm prepared to have the second.
In this next clip, she once again uses her discretion and tells Mr. Manzano that he can take his request to public safety and does not even give a chance to the rest of the executive committee to vote, once again using her own discretion.
On the demolition of the Roseville Courts.
That went to commission today.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow morning. So how are we going to take a position on it?
They can still take a position no matter what the housing department is at tomorrow. The board can take a vote.
The table is to see what the outcome is from the.
They're coming in line already.
Okay, well then put it on the agenda. I'm asking them to be placed on the agenda.
time sensitive, anything that's already going to that, when am I used?
Anthony, what's next?
Oh, I have a,
I'm sorry, how much time do I have left?
Your time was allotted 10 minutes, and that was 5 minutes ago.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I didn't know that. I thought you guys were gonna let me know. I'm sorry about that. So I'll just end this off, and I had numerous clips, okay, but it's gonna be part of the same thing, which will be including more of these things, okay? So there's really no point into getting into the rest of these, so thank you guys very much.
Can we make a motion to extend his time? I would love to hear everything he has to say, so it doesn't linger. I'm making that motion to extend his time.
With the exception that the other party gets the same amount of time.
Correct, with that exception as noted by the president. I need a second, please.
I second. Angela seconded.
How much time are you asking for, Mr. Chavez?
Whatever he needs, I want to hear the entire thing, whatever it is. If it takes till 9:30
The
tonight,
motion has to read how much time you're going to give him.
till 9:30 p.m. That's your answer. Good question.
How much time do you need, Joshua? 5 minutes, 3 minutes?
Whatever you need, I wanted to get it off your shoulder once and for all.
How much time do you need?
So far, he's used 15 minutes. If he needs 10 more minutes, it's 25 minutes each person. That's okay. I mean, we're here, this is what we're here to hear. If we're asked to take a position on this, I want to hear it all.
Right, there you go.
I'm not going to make a half decision.
Doesn't matter how you feel when I hear the whole thing.
So I need numbers. How much time are you
I'll make the
motion?
motion to extend it for another
The
10
thing
minutes.
is, I don't think we're gonna be asking
I
for
second
a
that
position.
There's a motion to extend his time for 10 more minutes. There's a second by Mr. Pacheco.
Wait a minute, she needs to withdraw her
I'll
first one.
withdraw my original.
I withdraw my second on that.
Now we go back to mine, 10 minutes.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Jordan for 10 minutes extension, second by Mr. Pacheco. Comment?
Public comment.
Public comment? Board comment? All in favor of the motion? Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
We also have new business on the agenda, and we have other stakeholders here that would like to hear new business and would like to carry on with the business of this council. So I would like this limited and get this agenda item finally finished.
Thank you.
That's why we're extending
So
the
there's any more board comment?
time.
If I may, is 10 minutes more of this gentleman's time, 10 minutes more allowed to the
Yes.
opponent is not going to keep us from hearing other business.
That's 30 minutes both presenters alone, plus our discussion and public comment in addition.
We'll get it over with. Let's hear the whole
I've got all
thing.
night, how about you?
Okay, like I said, so there's a motion.
Is anybody else on a time schedule to where they cannot afford this?
Point of clarification, the city
Oh,
is.
sorry, miss.
Sorry.
They'll kick us out.
There's it, Mr. Pacheco. Let's not get into that, please. So there's a motion on the table. We got your comment. There's a motion on the table for 10 minutes. There's a second by Mr. Pacheco. Board members, all in favor of the motion?
Your hand.
Abstentions?
Nay.
1. 2. Any opposed? Eight, 1, 2, motion passes. Your time extended by 10 minutes.
Thank you, and I'm sorry for wasting everybody's time with
Now,
this.
wait, go ahead.
Please just stop me if I hit that. Thank you.
When you hear the chime.
I have bad hearing, sorry.
Okay,
You gotta let me
I'll
know.
let you know.
Thank you. So pretty much the rest of these clips are of the same thing with numerous Brown Act violations, and may I also add that she is seen in a few of these clips laughing at Mr. Manzano. While laughing may not be a violation, it is pretty disrespectful of her to do this to a stakeholder, bringing forth items that he feels strongly for.
Okay, you want LA 32 to
Prepare a resolution that they support the Los Angeles Municipal Code, which is already law, which is enforcing the curfew.
What's the 10 o'clock if you're under 18 years old?
Correct.
And you're out in the street after 18, you can get arrested or fined.
Or even in the state curfew.
Oh, there is? Oh, yeah, no.
You have to be, no allowance in public locations, no parks, no.
That's not time sensitive, well, that's public safety. Next.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Make a purchase for graffiti abatement supplies not to exceed $500. That is time sensitive, it's an ongoing daily process.
Public safety. How much?
Not to exceed $500.
Oh, I know, but you said
improvement project.
yeah, beautification.
But you said $500 to allocate, no, not to exceed $500. Who would they pay that to?
No, because I think. And beautification would just go like every Sunday and the
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll work that out.
We'll work it out beautification.
I like that. Yeah, you got the best idea. One.
No?
Can I make a comment?
That's already gone through city council and passed. That went to non-use already. Next.
The board did go on it, which they did.
Because the committee didn't want to take a position on it, because the people who wrote the ordinance came to the committee too late. If they were going to city council within a week, the committee didn't feel comfortable making a recommendation. It's already gone to city council and it passed unanimously. Go on.
I'd like the board to hear the stakeholder petition that was initiated about a year ago to increase the size of the board to 21 board members.
The bylaws changed.
It doesn't matter, you guys still haven't heard the petition.
The bylaws changed. We can't have
That's
21
not what I'm
members.
asking. I'm asking for the board to hear the petition that was submitted. You just ignore something that was submitted? Is that what happens?
That's not what you asked for. You asked to fill the vacancies.
No, I'm not. I'm asking that the board would hear the stakeholder petition to increase the size of the board to 21.
Okay, we'll hear that. You guys want to put that on the agenda?
You have to, it's a stakeholder initiative.
We'll take a look. That might be on the agenda. It wasn't.
And for this last one, I want to show you a clip where she took it upon herself to decide that this item will go on an agenda as well.
It's already gone to city council and it passed unanimously. Go on.
I'd like the board to hear the stakeholder petition that was initiated about a year ago to increase the size of the board to 21 board members.
I'm sorry, that was my last one. I'm sorry about that. It was my last two clips together. Thank you very much, board.
Are you done?
Yes, thank you.
Closing statement?
No, thank you.
Mister, you had a question?
No, just the clips were relatively unintelligible.
Written transcripts would serve as well, wouldn't
Yeah, and they're just to state his case.
Excuse me, esteemed members, at some point, can we get written transcripts of the evidence?
Here's our extra copies. No, not that. He wants to know what his,
What's happening here? What's the transcript of what's
Right, this gentleman just presented evidence.
here's a video.
My assumption is this lady will produce other evidence. Is there any possibility of getting written transcripts of those?
You can get them online.
Not all of us can understand modern audio-visual sound effects.
We have the video camera. I don't know.
The copy of what was turned in, it's always ready, you get a copy of everything.
Everything you presented basically here if you'd like a copy. These are all copies of the agenda.
Excellent.
Excuse me, what is your name? For the record,
Who else? One.
Want to know your name, sir?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question. Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Bruce Wilson.
Thank you.
I live in University Hills, short distance from the Child Care Center in Cal State LA.
Thank you.
We have 3? No more?
One of each. Here, I'll give you. Oh, you're welcome.
Where's the other? Maybe.
Did you need another one?
2 more, please.
Oh, it's more of an, just,
I'm sure it's not gonna be an attachment to our minutes.
It will be no more.
New business, item 11. Under new business is item 11. So we're on item 8.
Okay, yeah, because I'm having a meeting I'm voting right now, so I ran over here.
It's gonna be a 25 minutes for finish your presentation. How come it's not, is it, did you tell us this? So if you want to.
use is only one, I'm gonna use that one at all.
Do you want to give us the numbers? Because I need that.
So I
Yeah, you can use Valley Grade Tuesday, Fridays only there.
We'll keep you in the loop.
You ready? Ready?
Go ahead. 1 second. Time starts. Your time started.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, board. First of all, how much time do I have?
25 minutes.
Okay, perfect. I would like to first of all start off by saying this is nothing personal against anybody who signed this petition, against the creator of this petition, and or family/friends of the creator. I've been placed in a position in which I'm forced to defend myself, so please just take it as such. There's 2 matters of subject for you to consider in regards to this petition and when making a determination on whether or not to censure. One is the merits of the allegation. This is what we should be discussing today so that you can determine whether or not enough evidence exists to uphold the penalty. Second is the validity of the petition and whether you as a board feel that it meets the requirements to move forward without causing liability on anyone. I'd like to first discuss and defend myself against the actual merits of the allegation. However, up until 5 minutes ago, I had no details on it. The initiative as written does not provide me any information to be able to pull evidence to defend myself. When an allegation is made against anyone, specifics must be provided. He pulled out some government codes. Well, there's other codes like election code and state code. When a petition is submitted according to election and state code, it has to have specific dates, times. It's like one of you going into court and defending yourself against numerous violations, including but not limited to many counts of robbery on many dates in many different neighborhoods. You can't defend yourself on that. And I couldn't come to defend myself on this, although now that he's laid it out, I can absolutely refute those claims. And I'll do that at the end. First of all, I needed to know what violation of 54954.2, there's like A through J or A through K. I don't know which violation, which section. I also need the specific dates, the meetings, the items that he claims action was taken on without being agendized. He now stated it was the Derby dolls. However, I didn't place that on the agenda on my own. I have an entire executive committee who votes on the agenda and approves the agenda to go forward. They had every opportunity to not allow it to go forward. In addition, that went to the board. The board had every opportunity to not hear it if that were the case. Yet they heard it and approved it. I wasn't even there at that meeting for that item. It was the only other time I believe I had to be late for a meeting. So, that wasn't me who made that decision. It was the executive committee, so you can't censure me for that. 54960.1, I think he talked about not curing a violation. That's what that code refers to. What that is it gives the district attorneys or any interested party the ability to take an action by mandamus or injunction for the purpose of obtaining a judicial determination that an action taken by a legislative body be made null and void. Meaning, he could have filed with the district attorney. Let's take the Derby dolls, for example. He could have filed with them and said, this action was taken illegally, it wasn't properly agendized, though, again, it was. According to the executive agenda, if you read it, the agenda states the executive committee will create and discuss and create the agenda. So I don't know where that violation is. Back to the mandamus. The 54960.1, not curing a violation. What that code refers to would have had to come from a district attorney. So they would have had to make the determination that yes, the action was legal. Then they would have notified us, the board, not me, because the board took that vote, not me. I didn't send that letter on my own. They would have notified the board that that action should be null and void. And then we have 90 days to make that correction. If we don't make it, then we're in violation of that code. We, not I. And there was no violation because there's never been a mandamus filed against us. I'm sorry, it's 30 days to cure, not 90. Also for that alleged violation, I needed dates. I think he clarified that. Let's see. I wanted the date that the city attorney or DA ordered us to make an action void, but it never happened. Setting the agenda at my own discretion has never happened every single time, and my executive committee is sitting up here, and I would expect them to be truthful and honest in this. There has been not one time that an agenda that came to this board was not approved by the executive committee, period. Member removal. I tried to remove the members. A couple of them made some claims to the city and to the city attorney. Specifically, one of them said I was retaliating against him. He brought up a number of questions. He said that my information was wrong. He said that I excused him 7 times. And so, to avoid any possible removal that wasn't warranted, the city attorney, along with Dunn representatives, and there's an email to you guys from the city attorney reminding you of all this that was sent today, by the way, made the determination that that needs to go on the agenda, and the board will decide whether or not his removal should continue. You, as the board, decided not to remove him. So how are you censuring me for that? That was your decision. I abstained from that vote. Until I receive these specifics, well, I guess I got them. I would have loved to be able to like I provide a number of different evidences, but when he doesn't give me details on the petition, I can't. But I can talk about the validity and or the integrity of this document, and there are a few things that I'd like to point out about it. Again, no hard feelings against anyone. There's no information on this document that would allow for any of us to verify if these signers are stakeholders. When the Beacon submitted their document, there was addresses, there was phone numbers. You could contact them. Any legal petition, per the election code again, must require a way to randomly contact anyone on there and see, do they qualify as a stakeholder? Our bylaws don't require it, but again, legal codes and election codes and state law required it for initiative petitions before legislative bodies, governmental bodies. I'm only requesting it because there are a number of questionable things on this document that might cause problems if submitted to the city attorney for penalty consideration. And that's not a threat. I'm just pointing out facts to you guys, the facts that you need to know. I had this ordered correctly before, and I think after 4 months it's kind of out of order. So you're gonna have to thumb through your petition to find the page I'm referring to. This one was at one point page 1. The signature number 9 is Kevin Estrada, if you could find that page. Or actually, you don't really need to, but that's what I'm talking about. Kevin Estrada's signature. This one stood out to me the second the petition was handed to me. Because I know this guy. I've known him all my life. I grew up with him. And we were kids growing up on the street together. He still hangs out at my neighbor's house regularly. And he's my buddy. So I said to him, the next time I saw him, Kevin, what the heck? It's a little cleaned up. He signed a petition against me. And he said, what are you talking about? I said, is this your signature? He said, yeah, that's my signature. What is that? I said, you signed it, you tell me what it is. And he said, he had to call his friend. He called up his friend, who's also on the petition. And his friend said, oh yeah, you know, we signed something on Saturday night, November 21st, by the way. While they were at some house in El Sereno, drunk and watching a fight. I think it was the Canelo fight. He didn't recall seeing my name on the petition. Not saying it wasn't. He didn't recall seeing it, and he would not have signed it had he been sober, not taking any onus away from him because he's an adult and he should have known what he was signing. Or he wouldn't have signed it if he saw it was about me. I told him not to worry about it. I didn't feel it would go anywhere anyway. I would never hold anything against him. That's my boy. I like him. He was bothered by it for the next few days. He kept contacting me, sending me Facebook messages, saying, you know, I'm really bothered by this, and I don't like the tactics that were used on me. He wants his name withdrawn, so I asked him to send me an email if he really wanted that. In which, this is there's Kevin down there. That's Kevin. And I recognized his signature immediately. Not just his name, his signature. So Kevin sent me this email. You guys can't really see it. Just says, after further review of the motion, and I asked him, he said, what's it for? I said, Brown Act violations. He said, what's that? I said, you don't know what a Brown Act violation is? Why'd you sign a petition against me? So he said, after further review of the motion, I realized that I'm not familiar with the Brown Act. Furthermore, I have never attended a LE 32NC meeting to be able to make the determination stated on the petition. Therefore, please withdraw my name. And you guys, there's his email. Any of you can contact him. And I'm sure he'll give you his phone number if you really want to verify it to him. Page 2 of the petition looks like this. Joshua's on the top. Number 2 is Brent Hesse. He's a co-worker of Mr. Corsantes. He lives in Denver, according to the work website. I'd like to know, I mean, he may be a stakeholder here, I don't know, but I want to know how. I'm requesting proof of stakeholdership on him. Again, I'm not making just claims out of nowhere. And again, forgive me for having to put up pictures of people. I really don't like doing this, but I'm forced to. This is Mr. Corsantes' work website. clearly states there that he lives in Los Angeles. This is Brent Hesse. Clearly states here, Brent is based out of Denver. Those of you lucky to be at our Salt Lake City conference will be getting to know him this week. Page 3 looks like this. Items 3 through 7. Oh, I'm sorry. On that last page, signature number 10 is, I'm also requesting proof of stakeholdership. It's Mr. Corsante's brother, who I've had the pleasure, actually, he's a pretty nice person, of meeting once. And I specifically remember him telling me that he lived in Maywood or somewhere in one of those gateway cities, Southgate or something like that. I don't quite remember, but I remember it wasn't in this area. Page 3 is this one, items 3 through 7. Forget that all the writing is almost identical. Take a look at the Z's in the handwriting and the printing. The chances of 5 different people having the same handwritten Z is little to none. And these are all concerns that I've already brought up to the city. I'm requesting the information on these 5 signers. If somebody has it, we can contact them and verify that each person signed their own signature. Otherwise, there are other mechanisms, and again, hate to really go that far, but because it's a city entity and LAPD is a city entity as well, they have a question documents unit that I've already informed that we'll be sending over to for proof if we need to. So, I'm sorry, on that same page, signatures 8 through 10, also signed by the same person. I'm requesting these signatures be validated by QDU of LAPD, and that's what they do. They take them, they impose them on top, and they could tell if it's the same person writing them.
What is it called again?
Question documents. Question documents unit.
Is that available for everybody?
Well, they're normally for crime. I mean, you know, it's part of the crime law. So in like crimes, like if a letter's left at the crime scene, or usually it's for forged checks, things like that.
Question document. Unit.
Yeah. Page 7. I don't know, I mean, I'll bring up pictures if you guys want. I'll let you decide, I guess. 7 and 8 are also co-workers of Mr. Corsantes. Miss Ebony Johnson is based in South Carolina, and Miss Letitia is in New York. And I know that Mr. Corsantes does travel for his job, so I'm sure I know he visits these places, and I'm assuming that's when he obtained the signatures. I'm requesting proof of stakeholdership for both of these as well. My last intention is to falsely accuse people of criminal activity or to become defensive in this situation. However, please understand that this is a legal matter. If this petition goes forward to the city attorney's office for legal ramifications against me, it subjects a number of people to different liabilities. We've already covered the fact that Brown Act violations can be chargeable with a misdemeanor. So in essence, he's pretty much accusing me of a misdemeanor. I understand that the penalty most likely won't contain jail time or subject me to huge fines, but damages have already been done, as information regarding this petition was placed in a newspaper and has already had negative effects on me. How much time do I have?
9 minutes and 23 seconds.
Which newspaper?
Community Beacon. I'm going to go through the things that he pointed out really quickly. I wasn't prepared to do this, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. Again, the executive committee has voted to put everything on the agenda. They've always voted on every agenda. The Brown Act he claimed that a Brown Act violation was not cured, and he specifically referred to the one from Anthony. I absolutely responded to that with the city attorney's advice. I think he only gave you his email, he didn't supply my response. Had I known he was gonna bring that, I would have brought my response as well. But Anthony could vouch for that, he got a response. Attachment D, I think he said, wasn't cured or corrected, I don't know what that is. The board removal. The board made that decision to keep June Ayala. I attempted to remove him. You can't censor me for that. Laughing is not a violation. I agree that it's not professional. I'm not the only one who laughs, but I don't like seeing that. And in all fairness, Anthony was there to prove a point. We all knew that. He was there to prove the point that not everything can, he thinks that every single item that the executive committee is going to discuss needs to be on the agenda. We had already gone through this for a couple months prior with Dunn and the city attorneys, and they even advised me not to change the agenda to be more specific. They said the way you're doing it is fine. I changed it anyway just to appease certain people. But I do want to note that every single one of those items that he brought forward to the executive committee were assigned to a committee, and I've yet to see them on that committee's agenda. But you're trying to censor me for that. I don't understand. Well, I do understand, but I'd like everybody here to understand. I've played with this board for 4 months, 3 meetings to allow this item to be heard. There were certain people who didn't want it heard. I'm disappointed in some of the tactics that have been taken here. I feel like people think you have been allowed to make a mockery of process. The process has been intentionally stalled. I think that all of our intelligence is, there's an attempt to insult all of our intelligence here. All of these actions are a reflection on us as a whole. I'm denying the allegations. They're false. I believe the petition is fraudulent. I've already retained private counsel, and I'm gonna have to utilize those avenues to address this. Putting my name on a piece of paper and sending it around the community for people to read false things about me is slander and it's defamation. I'm not going to tolerate it, not for myself, not for any of you, because this could happen to any of you. Somebody could turn on you one day. Next thing you know, you're being dragged through the mud. I'm not going to tolerate it, not for me, not for any of you, not for the next board, not for anybody on the next board. This neighborhood council has been plagued long enough with this kind of nonsense. It needs to stop. And if it's me that needs to put money out of my pocket to ensure that it stops, then I'm going to do that. I have to do it. People don't understand what they're doing. You're asking? Okay, not you're asking, I'm sorry. Stakeholders are putting their names on petitions. A second one came forward with the same font, same margins, same number of lines, but it's a second stakeholder. People don't understand that when they put their names on these as the petitioners, they're opening themselves up to liability. Now they have a right. If the allegations are true and they have supporting documentation, you have every right. But if they're false, and I know they're false, I also have every right to exhaust my avenues, and I will. Again, I have sought private counsel. They've been given both petitions. The very first response from the attorney was, this is the exact same petition. It's a carbon copy. It's from the same person. I said, no, it's from 2 different people. He said, are these allegations true? I said, no. He said, well, what documentation did they provide these stakeholders to obtain these signatures? I don't know. Nothing was attached. So they just took the word of these people? I don't know. For all the reasons stated, I'd like to respectfully request that this board dismiss this charge for lack of evidence. Or well, actually he did provide it, so again, I've had these prepared for 4 months and I haven't even looked at it. I didn't even look at it once today. I didn't even look at it once before the last meeting. So it's a little outdated since he did bring some specifics forward. Again, without giving me adequate time to provide a counter, but I'm not worried about all that. Let me see, so I provided some information. I want the information that would verify stakeholdership, or I really strongly urge that you obtain that before making a decision, since I feel the integrity of this petition has been compromised. I'd also request, my initial thing before all this was, hey, just rewrite the petition, put some specifics on there, put some addresses on there, and then let's hear it. But we're hearing it now, so that's what I was going to say next. Let's have him redo the petition. But I did want to ask that when he does collect signatures, that people are sober when he collects them. I think it's poor practice the way that this was done. I think it mocks the legal process altogether. It's up to the board now to decide. I would have preferred to stand up here and defend myself against the merits of the allegation, rather than call to question the integrity of a petition. But I was unable to do that. I'm not comfortable doing any of this. I do it for my members every day, and I love it. But I don't like doing this to colleagues or to people that used to be friends. It's just, this whole thing is ridiculous. I'm sorry. Because this is a legal matter and a legislative body is involved, I'd like every single one of you who may find yourself in a similar situation to please come to your own intelligent, logical, and reasonable decision on this. Please put your personal feelings aside for me, as I would do for you, and I still would. To this day, not all of us like each other, but there's no reason to slander or defame people. And there's no reason to falsely accuse people of misdemeanors. It's just taking it way too far. Again, I apologize to the petitioners who may have to go through a little bit more after this because of this, and hopefully it's all resolved soon in every avenue possible. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and conclude. And again, I just ask you to make your own reasonable, intelligent, logical decisions. Thank you.
Keep the mic, please.
The grievance that Ms. Fonseca responded to Anthony, it was a grievance, right, Marlene?
Yes.
It was a grievance.
Well, it wasn't grievable, but he called it a grievance. There's things that are
But the city attorney, it was considered a grievance, right?
No, it wasn't grievable, and that was in the response. This is not grievable, however, I'd like to address and let you know how we're gonna correct this, and that. That's what it was. Where he says I'm admitting, that's not what it was. I did apologize for any, shouldn't laugh and things like that.
Okay.
I think I need to leave because I can't be here when you guys discuss.
One second. I get one second.
Tom, so you're here. Did the city attorney recommend that the two should leave the room? Because I think we have subsequent questions I'd like to ask to get some clarification. So is that something direction from the city attorney that you have to leave the room?
Well, I need to leave when you vote because nobody needs to feel intimidated by my presence. And there's been claims of people disturbing me and whatnot.
I actually have a problem with that. I would prefer you stay.
I mean, I could watch the video anyway and see.
I know, but I mean, if everybody's gonna be, with all due respect, I think that this is an open meeting. You're being accused, you have every right to stay here, and if somebody wants to accuse you and then expect you to leave the room, I think that's absolutely ridiculous.
I would agree the same thing, because I have some questions and I need some clarification in regards to everything that was said. And I'm not gonna take a position unless I get that clarification. So I would ask, if the city attorney didn't give you that direction, I would ask that you, both of you stay. So if we have questions, we can ask.
The city attorney did give me that direction.
That you have to leave when we take the vote, but not when we have discussion,
okay.
right?
That's fair enough.
Thank you.
Thank you, that's my feelings too.
Okay,
I just wanted to ask Tom, if you had anything to direct to the board that came out from the city attorney's office today?
Yeah, Thompson with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, the one that oversees the department. Part of what happened today is that just for the stakeholders here, is that we're the advisory body to the neighborhood councils, and we let the neighborhood councils go through with the process in their bylaws. Now, with that being said, there are certain things such as removals, censorship, that does need a consultation with the city attorney. When I was here last month, if you remember, the city attorney and when I say city attorney, I don't mean Mike Fear directly. There's a division of the city, that the neighborhood council legal advice division. And with this, every step of the process, the neighborhood council, the city attorney has been guiding the councils on this process. I think at the last meeting, I mentioned that anything that the board decides, it still has to go before the city attorney for review to see if it's justified or not, right? And then I know this past week, I know the city attorney's been emailing. You guys had some questions about the legal issues, code of conduct, issues of that. I know the city attorney has provided neighbor council information, provided the board with that information. And a lot of that stakeholders is that the city attorney is attorney-client privilege. They're the client of the city attorney, so that's why you don't see it all out there in the public. So it's really up to the board to decide. But today, before you guys go into your discussions, you guys talked about on your agendas, it states Brown Act violations, and the email that came out, as you do your deliberations, just keep in mind that the Brown Act violation is a violation not against one person, it's a violation for the board. So the demand to cure a Brown Act violation is to redo the motion again. So I think that you guys did get your, I know it's a little, like they sent it a little late, that's why I gave you guys a copy of that any Brown Act violation is a violation to the board. There's like not posting, stuff like not posting things on time. If things were agendized improperly, there's been some concern of did the chair do the agenda on her own without the approval of the committee, right? Because in your bylaws, that's where we find the clarity there, right? In your bylaws is where it determines the process for getting things on the agenda. And what we look for, and the city attorney looks for, is that, okay, did you follow that process? Did it go before the channels of the executive committee, right? In your bylaws, it does state that it does not, every item has to be, taken, the committees themselves decide, and you guys brings it before the board, right? And then what we look for is that if the agenda gets approved by the exec committee, first of all, we see this, make sure that it was posted on time, 72 hours, right? In addition, and then so we make sure that all those steps are going forward there. And now there's violations on the way. Once again, it's a violation for the board. It's not a violation against one person. So keep that in mind, that whatever decision that you guys make tonight, it will still go before the city attorney for review. Okay? So if you dismiss it, then I don't know why. That probably would not go before the city attorney for review. Any questions?
I have one question. Is there any criminal elements to this too, or is this just the expulsion type of action?
I don't know. In terms of what do you mean by criminal elements? Like
I mean that you're breaking the Brown Act. Are you in these laws that break? Is the Brown Act is a law, isn't it?
It's a state law.
If you break that, there are some penalties to it. Is that correct?
Every penalty is to the board. We penalty to one person.
To the board.
Yeah.
And is that any fines or added or possible jail sentences?
I don't think it's a big jail sentence. It could. There's personal liabilities, but that's we'll work with the city attorney on that. But it's not a violation. Your committee did not post on time. Your whole committee is going to jail. It's not like that. Okay, but it's more. So I wouldn't. It's not a personal jail thing, but it should be cured and remedied. There's a question over here first.
No, so what you're saying is if we decide to fine So if we decide that Marlene has violated Brown Act violation, pretty much we are saying that we are responsible for that Brown Act violation as a board.
Well, right, so the city attorney, in the email today, said that if it's not Marlene violates the Brown Act violation, the Brown Act violation would be a violation of the board. Yes, yes. Let's go down this way. Questions here? Just go this way. Michelle?
If we vote that she did violate it, how are we gonna get fined as an entire board?
Well, once again.
And the second part is, where, can you provide that information that it says that the entire board will get fined? And what is the fine that we would get if for whatever reason the board majority voted guilty? What happens to the board? Do we get something emailed to us, a fine, jail time?
I can't answer that on the spot right now. It'd be unfair for me to, that'd be more of a city attorney type of issue. All I know is that I can't give you the specifics of where, but the email that the board did receive today does state that a Brown violation is not against one person though. And I wouldn't give you more specifics, but I don't want to blow smoke and, I can't give you that information. Yeah, I'll follow up for you if you need to.
If we actually were to support this motion, correct me if I'm wrong, would we then not have to define what the censure was? Or is it just on record as a censure?
It would be, well, you can define it as a censure. Once again, the city attorney will have to review it and they'll give their findings for it. That's part of it.
I have a question. Okay, so we received the email from the city attorney at 4:48 p.m.
Right.
And it gives you some different information. I've been going back and forth with Darren in regards to some of the questions and concerns that I have. What bothers me is the back and forth, the throwing of lawsuits and petitions. Look, everybody has the right to sue. I have the right to sue you. Just because you looked at me wrong doesn't mean it's not a frivolous lawsuit. I have the right, whoever it is, have the right to countersue. So that doesn't worry me. My concern is in regards to how this board, because there's three different things here. One is bylaws violations, Brown Act violations, and the other one is, I think, two things. So based on the city attorney's email, if the Brown Act, because it affects the entire board, but then you look at the bylaws violations, what is the process to that? So if the board decides that there is bylaw violations, that goes back to the city attorney to determine if that's accurate?
You know, in your bylaws, in terms of review, and you guys know your bylaws more than we do, right? Then is that you do have a motion to censor, but in your bylaws, that's where it kind of stops. Meaning, like, there's nothing in the bylaws. Okay, there's a censorship motion. What's next? You know, so that's all I can leave it with. I can't advise you on.
And that's the thing, the bylaws were given to us by the department and imposed on us in order to get off of exhausted effort. So it's pretty unfair that we sit here in front of all our stakeholders and try to justify these actions when the petitioner has every right, anybody has the right. Our bylaws doesn't say anything to include addresses or phone numbers or confirm whether they're drunk or not drunk. That's not on our bylaws for us. I didn't know I had to do a drug test or an alcohol test on people to sign petitions.
Right.
So the definition that you give us on our bylaws that stakeholders are abiding by, that's what they did. So how does that make us responsible for something that petitioners took that initiative on doing? And
yeah, you know, on a personal, you know, individuals on your own level, if you do seek other counsel, like legal counsel, that's really up to individuals on what to do, right? The bylaws, just let me clarify something here, that the city of Los Angeles, we do have 96 neighborhood councils. And each of the neighborhood councils, they have their own board structure, the way they do setting agendas. Some boards do allow the president to vote on, be the ones to do the agendas. In this board, the executive committee are the ones that, if you want something on the agenda, you would go to that committee and they'll decide, not the merits of but they'll decide, whether to put it on the agenda or not. Am I correct? Okay, so that's what we're doing. So we don't, so in terms of us I just want to clarify, Angela, that in terms of us forcing neighborhood councils, In a perfect world, yes, with 96 neighborhood councils, do we want one set of formal bylaws? Yes, we do. But do we get that? No. Okay. So then the aspects of areas where Angela's mentioning that we kind of, and I wasn't here for you guys through the exhaustive efforts process, right? But then in terms of the bylaws, I know I'll wrap this up, in terms of the bylaws, the parts that we kind of focus on is, okay, the posting part, the general things that you guys have to do. Must take ethics and funding, in order to vote on funding items, posting gender policy, right? And then so in terms of the censorship, the motion, those are the gray areas which we allow the board through bylaw amendments to make those changes on, right? So those are some things that you have you guys can't make changes to, okay, we're not going to do the ethics and funding to vote on funding items. You guys have to do those trainings. You guys have the ability in your bylaws to, if you wanted to expand a little more on your, what happens if someone is censored. What does that mean? You guys can have the ability to do that, the petition-wise, right? Once again, that's a more legal issue. Right, in the bylaws of this state, the petition has to have, 50 signatures. It didn't specify, where they have to be from, et cetera, and so forth. That's more of a...
Well, it does say they have to be stakeholders.
Okay, the stakeholders,
But
right.
the definition of a stakeholder is I'm buying coffee at
Well, the new definition, and once again, this is just for those of you who are new, right? Before the definition of the stakeholder went through a couple of iterations. Live, work, or own property at the very basics, right? So that if you live here, you own property, you have business, makes sense, you're a stakeholder, right? And then what happened was city council or someone decided to say that we're going to change the definition to actually say live, work, or own, and affirms the factual basis for it, which allow the Starbucks coffee drinker, which allow the person who gets gas in the neighborhood to be a stakeholder. And guess what? Because of that, in the spirit of being too inclusive, some of the neighborhood councils, their elections were overtaken by folks that weren't stakeholders, so to say. Okay. So then let me just, so then what happened was that because of the change was made that the new definition is that to live, work, or own, or has a defined community interest in areas. So you gotta demonstrate, besides just being the Starbucks drinker, you have to have some type of community affiliation. Hey, I am a board member of the PTA, I'm the board member of the Chamber of Commerce. You gotta have some type of definition there. And that's the new definition that's what we're going on. So for that petition, for the stakeholdership, it has to match that definition that's in bylaws.
So I have one last question. We as a board, our bylaws tells us 50 signatures, it automatically goes on our agenda, right? How are we supposed to handle those if our bylaws doesn't ask anymore? Are we supposed to go back to the petitioner and say where do they live? Were they sober? What do we do?
Yeah.
How are we supposed to handle that situation?
Yeah, that's in your bylaws, right? So that's something I want to discuss. In your bylaws, that's where you have to kind of, if it's not clear, right? That's what you have to think about in terms of if you wanted to.
So ultimately, who's liable there? The city for imposing the bylaws on us? Or us just accepting what's on our bylaws and accepting the petitions that are coming in?
Yeah. And once again, there's been many conversations, I know, with the city attorney on that, and I can't sit up here and really give you that.
I just want to make it clear so people here know that this is a petition that was submitted.
Yeah.
It's 50 signatures. Unfortunately, we have to hear this. It was on the agenda. And I want everyone to know we don't go there and identify who are they, do they live here, are they stakeholders, were they, sober or not. We don't verify that information. It's impossible for us to do that. Am I wrong?
Based on your bylaws, right? It doesn't say that. Yes. So there's a comment. Well, I think we'll go back this way. Your hand was up. Hugo. Well, no, let's go back this way. You spoke already. Let's go. You.
Here's the problem that I see. First of all, it's supposed to be a Department of Empowerment. And what I've been seeing from the beginning of this situation with the petition, it's like we get less and less power as a body. And there's more and more power from your office and more power from the attorneys. Now, although it's been stated that there's no personal vendetta or anything personal against any of us, what I did clearly hear tonight is that there's private counsel. Now, at some point, if that's going to be the case, some people might want to think about getting some private counsel. And one of the things that I've been asking, and again, I'm trying to be very careful here, folks, because I still expect the city attorney to represent me for the things that I'm doing here. Okay, now, all week long, actually for the last 2 weeks, I mean, we've been accused of stalling. We were accused a few minutes ago as a board of stalling this. Believe me, I have been wanting to stall until I get the proper information from the city attorney. And as of a few minutes ago, which is a memo we just received, we're finally getting somewhere as to where the city attorney wants to take this. And so, on the reasonable man idea, under the law, as a reasonable person, average Joe from the street, how am I supposed to know the elections codes and all these other things? And to know that our bylaws are not really enforceable by us. That ultimately your department and the city attorney are the ones that can decide the validity of whether or not what we're doing is right. And see, here's the problem. There's no empowerment in that. And so, are we now kind of telling the community, be careful? You might want to think twice about even getting involved here as a person, because if somebody who happens to be union trained, legally trained, goes after you, hey, I would rather have the old system where I could go up to the councilman like I used to and say, Mr. Councilman, I got a concern about my street. I got a concern about the trash. I got a concern about the crime in my, and he would listen to me. This has become a game. A game. And so I'm trying to be very careful, because I do feel that the city is responsible if for any reason we have, as reasonable people, followed what our bylaws say. And remember, these bylaws were reviewed twice in the last 4 years by your department. And we were only given certain revisions. So I expect, if I get any kind of lawsuit, to be protected by the city.
This is why I look at it.
Can I say something here? I think we're getting off the rails here. This is not a motion to censure the...
No, they need to go to public comment.
Okay,
We're barely getting somewhere now after 3 months of petitioning these minutes. All of a sudden.
may I finish?
They will
May I
when
finish?
I finish.
Thank you. So we have a lot of concerns with how, first I want to say for all the stakeholders here, this is actually my first full board meeting as a director. So I can only imagine how frustrated you all are listening to all of this, but I've been sitting out there with you all for many months now listening to it as well. I'm hearing all the concerns of the directors with what we're getting from the attorneys, and their responses we're getting from your office as well. We've done our due diligence here, which is to hear this. And I'd like to say something about it, which is to say that everyone on this board are volunteers. They're volunteers doing their very best, including our president. I haven't been involved in any of these meetings. I've been sitting out there with you guys. But from what I have seen, this seems very much like a personal attack against the president. And seeing as we on the ad hoc election committee just sent out postcards to get people involved, this is a horrible example of what this board does. This is a huge waste of time, and I'm shocked that we would spend so much time hearing this petition and going back and forth and back and forth. I appreciate the amount of effort that the stakeholder has put into this. I do want to say publicly that I question the motivations. Because honestly, with all due respect, Madam President, I think you can be abrasive. I think you can be blunt. Perhaps you have made some mistakes, but I don't think that warrants many, many months of us chasing after each other. And I'm horrified by the precedent that this could set, where this is all this board does, is just go back and forth and back and forth. You know, as far as this petition, Penn and Teller did, I don't know if you call it an experiment, but a trick, not that long ago, where they asked people to sign a petition that said, you know, would you like to ban hydrogen dioxide in your community? Does anybody know what, or I'm sorry, dihydrogen oxide in your community? Does anybody know what that is? And they got people to sign it. People were like, oh my God, that sounds terrible. Does anybody know what that chemical is? It's water, okay? So I do appreciate what the president said about, you know, we have to look at these petitions carefully and the motivation of the people who are signing them and the motivation of the people who are petitioning. But again, this whole process has just been an embarrassment, I think, to this council. So I don't think we need to hear it anymore. I don't think we need any more clarification. I think what we need is a motion to dismiss this and get on with the business of taking care of this community.
I would like to make a public comment before we do that.
You will.
I just have one last comment though, I agree.
I'm sorry.
It's okay, go ahead.
I've been waiting my turn, and Mr. Thomas has also been waiting his turn. And I like what Jennifer said, I agree with her. Yet, however, some of us do still have clarifications because we are being asked to take a position on this. Earlier on, Michelle asked some questions, and then that triggered me to come up with the following thoughts and question. I know, I think it was last month, I received a phone call from you asking me about my Sports and Rec Committee meeting and asking me if I really needed to have that meeting because I did not send it to the early notification system, so that would be a violation of a process or something, right? Yes. So with this that's going on, you told me, in the conversation, I was told that we were already we had like 2 negative points, and a negative point would put it somewhere else. I don't remember the exact details. But this, I mean, if we're saying that, yes, we are guilty of Brown Act violation or guilty of violating the bylaws, where would that put the name of our board? You know, would the exhaustive efforts, where would it put us?
No, so let me clarify for the stakeholders as well, okay? In addition to the Brown Act, the civil citizen advisory body that oversees the neighborhood councils is called the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners. And they're made up of 7 citizens, folks appointed by Mayor Garcetti, and one from each of the 7 planning area regions. And they get together, and they're the ones that come together to certify the neighborhood council. You know, before LA 32 was a neighborhood council, they had to come together, do application, and to get approved, you know, yay or nay to become a neighborhood council. In addition to their duties, they also come up with some policies that can help direct, you know, the direction of the neighborhood council. And part of that is I think what you're referring to is a bylaws template. At least there's templates that you guys could use there. So one thing that really I was referring to was that it's not the violation of the Brown Act. And they created what's called the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners Cities Posting Policy. So that was different than the Brown Act. So this is 2 separate issues. Okay.
I just wanted to make one little comment. Can't we just get along? Remember those words from that guy? Got whipped, 50-some times on his body? And then a riot ensued after that? Can't we just get along?
So I'm gonna leave it. I don't think, I mean, just from I'll be here to answer more questions, but, you know, you want to.
That's it. Okay, that's it. We exhausted our time. It's already 8:15, and we have a lot of questions. So thank you for your time.
I want to give an important comment.
Go ahead. Public comment, Lisa.
Do you know how to look like that?
Almeida.
Just hand hold it.
I can't discuss any of it?
No, there's a motion.
Okay, Elisa Almeida, founder of Tender Loving Covers, for those of you who know who it is. And for those of you who don't know what it is,
we give to shelters in Los Angeles, all through Los Angeles, and we've become global, and we give quilts to outside of the country as well. On the other side of me, I am an activist for 710, as Tom Williams knows, and for maybe about 10 years, over 10 years, I've been an activist on this 710. As you know, it's gone on for 50-some years. So all through those years, I've been one of the ones that does the petitions to get them signed. Now this is what I know. On a petition, and on behalf of Marlene, I agree that she cannot defend herself correctly, because every petition has to have your name, your address, your phone or email, the date. That's a proper petition. I don't know about your bylaws and petitions, but I do know what a petition is, because I go out and get signatures, and I go door to door. I have never been approached with this petition, and I go door to door on petitions. All of our people that do petitions, we go. Okay, you pick this side, you take this side, you take that side, and go get the people to sign. And on the top of our petition, it specifies what that petition is for, why you're signing it.
Right.
Exactly. So I have not seen this petition. I don't even see copies back there for us. So I'm just telling you that I'm not taking sides for anybody, stakeholders, you members, anybody. I'm just telling you what I know. This is what I know. And she can't. Anybody can't defend themselves if the petition is not clarified on what issues they are about. When I went around with petitions, it had the specifics, it had pictures.
Thank you.
Everything.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, Mrs. Johnson, do you have a public comment?
My name is Scott Johnson. I was formerly the recording secretary for the last board incarnation of this neighborhood council. A couple of issues here. Number one issue is due process, and I think hearing both sides is what needed to be done finally. Okay? Also, too, regarding the petition, the bylaw is very specific how the petition is to be crafted. So if, as Lisa was mentioning here, in an ideal world, that's a way a petition should be crafted, but according to the bylaw submitted, given to us by the department, that is what the verbiage is. A petition is to have no more than 50 words. Okay? Now, a comment was brought up here tonight about the community beacon paper. And for the record, this should be submitted into the record since the paper was brought up. There are two stories here. One regarding the censor and one is written by myself. Okay? I want to submit that into the record since the beacon was brought up. I also want to submit into the record documentation, official minutes from the City of Los Angeles Civil Service Commission regarding issues regarding Ms. Fonseca, formerly Ms. Caudillo. Okay? And so when
Objection, irrelevant.
I'm speaking, but the point is the beacon was brought up, and if people want to understand why, on the background of those articles, I want this documentation to be submitted to record so board members can make an informed decision regarding the background on the stories that were referred to prior to being started.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with the motion. It's not gonna be answered.
Okay, board members, any more public comment on this item?
Thank you. Bruce Wilson again. I'd like to ask, since I've never read your bylaws, are there spelled out specific approaches for investigating, adjudicating, and exacting penalties on any board member who is accused of malfeasance, dereliction of duty, criminal behavior, et cetera, et cetera?
No.
So
None
your
whatsoever.
bylaws have no way of addressing that?
None whatsoever.
Other than stakeholders have the opportunity to file petitions, remove people, this is their right. And again, it goes back to the city. This is what we were given to work with. And
So we listened to a whole bunch of absolutely nothing from a legal representative to support a structure that doesn't exist.
So our outcome is.
Gotcha.
I just want to say to the gentleman,
I think Mr. Wilson makes an excellent point, is that we are talking in circles. We've done our due diligence, we've heard this, we need, are we open for motions?
Not at this time.
Well, then, I think we really need to get on with this and recognize that we're just going around in circles.
We have to send a recommendation back to the city attorney. The city attorney decides.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table. We've had public comment. Now we will have board comment, whether discussion. So board members, you've heard from the petitioner. You've heard from Mr. Fonseca. We will now discuss on the motion, whether to censor her or not. So your questions will be addressed to the petitioner or to Ms. Fonseca at this time.
No.
I'm sorry, to me. This is motion, we're talking about the motion, okay?
You just heard the other.
can you read the motion over again? It's gone blog by now.
Start the other end.
Motion, LA 32 Neighborhood Council censor President Marlene Fonseca for numerous violations of conduct, including but not limited to Brown Act violations, 54954.2, actions on items not on the agenda, 54960.1, not occurring a violation within 30 days, bylaw Article 5, Section 7, non-removal of directors and using own discretion when setting agendas.
Thank you.
Are we correct on what? Okay, Mr. Chacon.
You have a comment?
Yes. Your comments or you want to vote on this?
Comments? Discussion.
Could I ask a question to Marlene?
Actually, you asked it to me,
Would you take a question, Marlene?
Well, you'll ask him, and then if he can't answer it, I'll answer it.
Could I ask her a question?
Through him. You speak to him, but if the question could be directly.
I'd like to ask her if she feels guilty of any one of those claims against her. Because my personal feeling is I don't think that, well, first of all, my personal thing, we're neighborhood. We'll have to have a lawyer to sit there, or somebody has to sit here and be judging every move we make to be correct, legally correct. And then we're losing what we're supposed to be here to help the neighborhood, not to be lawyers and nitpicking each other and politicians. We're not politicians. we're community people, we love the neighborhood, and they're here to do this to help the neighborhood, not to nitpick each other down to death and point fingers. I think to sustain to this, but the only question I could ask her is if she feels any offense. And besides that, it says there's 2 or more offenses. It says 2 or more to be a violation. And I don't.
Thank you. Mr. Pacheco?
Yeah, I want to start out by letting you know where I stand, and that's because of a notice from the city attorney. On every transmission they sent to us for communications, they put this down, so we have to be very careful. At least I'm going to be very careful, because of the fact that we've been told that there's private counsel, and I'm not sure at this point where I need to go. So the city attorney says confidentiality notice. This electronic message transmission contains information from the Office of the Los Angeles City Attorney, which may be confidential and protected by attorney-client privilege, and or the work product doctrine. If you're not the intended recipient, be aware that any disclosure, copying, distribution, or use of the content of this information is prohibited. If you have received this communication in error, please notify us immediately by email and delete the original message and any attachments without reading or saving in any manner. Given that notice, folks, I almost agree with Jennifer. But rather than that, there's one line that says, from the attorney, please let Diana, which is the other city attorney, Dania, sorry, or me know if you have any further questions regarding this matter, and I do. So therefore, I'm going to abstain. I'm not going to go for or against, because there's still too much to be answered. At this point, it's not it's almost, in my part, it's a dismissal, only because I still have too many questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pacheco. Ms. Garcia?
Yes, I would like to move forward and, if possible, for board members to give a position and we vote and we move on. I am either going to vote no or abstain, and I encourage others to do the same.
You know, I would like to ask the chair or the board members here to inform the public that one of the stakeholders here, that I believe has a beard, wanted to know certain things about our bylaws.
Stay on subject.
I am a subject, okay, it's pertaining to that, and so he could be informed, so he could be aware of these things when they happen, such as this one. And we do have a committee that creates these bylaws and to address events such as this. And the person that just finished speaking, the gentleman before, in between us, this lady, I'm informing you, Chair, that he's the chair of the committee for creating the bylaws. So I hope that you can reach out to that gentleman and give him the information he needs to have so he can be a viable member of this. You know, we've been at this an awfully long time. I'm glad that both sides got to say what they had to say. The president did say that she has sought legal advice. I think if any of you were in her shoes, would have done the same thing if you had the ability financially to do that. Otherwise, if you didn't and you qualified, you'd go to the free district attorney part that is for the poor people. Okay, but I'm glad that this finally come about, Mr. President. And so hopefully now the board members that are here, for me, I would like to squash this thing because they have had the opportunity to say what they had to say, and as by Tom over there alluded that, you know, it isn't defined what is being asked of us to do, to censure or these other violations. They're not really clear for us how we really are to behave with that. Okay, so I hope that the board here, when it finally comes for a vote, I hope that I'm not quite clear, Mr. President. If I vote no, what am I voting no for? And if I vote yes, what am I voting for? And if I'm abstaining, what am I abstaining for? Can you clarify that for me, please? Because remember, when we went out to vote a few years ago, if you voted no, it was yes for the proposition.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm confused at this point from all this that's been going on, and I've been listening to it and try to make ends of it, and all they come to me at this point, because we've had both sides to air their grievances, which they have that right, but now at the end where I must make a vote, now I'm confused. If I vote no, I raise my hand for no, what am I voting for? What, in terms of, you read in the proposition there, I'm calling it a proposition. Okay, if I vote yes, what am I doing to that? What's going to happen with that? If I abstain, what's the physical object that's going to take place? What's the process thereafter each type of different of the three votes?
Thank you. Sandoval?
Yes, hi, my name is Cynthia Sandoval, and I have been also reading the emails that have been sent to us throughout the last week. I have decided that by listening to the evidence is how I'm going to base my decision. And with all the bylaws that we have been given and have changed and we have submitted, none of the bylaws were actually given on our behalf. So now there's no way to say there's a closure, there's something we need to finish, this is how we're going to end this, this is the next step. And I personally do not want to make a decision on something that it is so vague and so general. So with everything that I've heard and how I see things going and looking at the documentation and listening to all of these comments and the board members discussing this, I don't have enough. I don't have enough information, I don't have enough support, I don't have enough direction from the department, and I did try to call the city attorney twice today. I left a voicemail and I got no response. And because this is so detriment to what we're trying to do today, I would have had appreciated at least somebody from the office to take that message and please at least call me back. If they didn't have an answer, understandable, but I don't have enough information for this, and there is no next step, so those are my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not gonna go on or anything like that. Just to answer Mr. Chacon's question, he asked if I'm guilty of any of these claims. My response is, what? Well, I'm responding to you because you won't be able to answer that for me. Yeah, no, my response is no. Numerous violations of conduct, including but not limited to action on items not on agenda. Absolutely not. We've never taken action on an item that's not on an agenda. Not curing a violation within 30 days. Again, that's ordered by a district attorney or a legal injunction. Did not happen. Has never happened. Bylaws Article 5, Section 7, non-removal of directors, I made an attempt to, was directed by the department and the city attorney to agendize it because there was a dispute by one of the parties, and so the board voted to not remove the directors. So no, I'm not guilty of that as well. Using own discretion when setting agenda, have absolutely never done. My executive committee has always voted on every single agenda that came forward. Lastly, that's not to say that I'm the best chair up here, because I'm absolutely not. And neither is any board member who sits on this board. And I thank you for your comment, and I acknowledge that. Of course I make mistakes. Yes, I've been rude. Yes, I've cut people off when I shouldn't have. Absolutely. That doesn't make me, that doesn't warrant censorship. If you all recall, there's been at least one time when a stakeholder has stood up and said, "You're being rude," or "You're being rude," or "You're being rude." That's happened in the last few months. Comments that you've made were taken out of context by stakeholders, and they publicly got up and stated for the record that your comment was rude, disrespectful, and uncalled for. That's happened to a number of board members here. So does that mean that we should write a petition against you and carry it around the neighborhood and tell everybody how horrible you are? No, and it doesn't warrant censorship either. Like, we all know that we're volunteers. We're not politicians. We're not professional board members. Many of you, this is the first time sitting on the board. It's the first time I've chaired a board. So yes, there have been mistakes made. Are these violations? No, I'm not guilty of any of these violations.
I've never seen
Thank you,
that.
Ms. Fonseca. I have no comment. Mr. Manzano?
Good evening. Good evening, stakeholders, directors. My name is Anthony Manzano, and oddly enough, the position that I have.
Who are you?
I'm the recording secretary. This has been going on for many months. Actually, it's been going on for 2 years. We're coming to the close of the term. I recently sat on this board, I believe it was January's meeting, which is my 3rd month. I only say recently because I've been on this board before. What we've seen here is the stakeholders, which I actually signed the petition when it was being presented to the executive officers. I think it was back in October or November last year, about 6 months ago. But what we're noticing is the stakeholders, including myself at that time, were not pleased, not satisfied, and did not agree with the direction of our leadership. Maybe the petitioner in the back who spoke today did not submit it in the proper format. Maybe they didn't get the addresses on the petition as perhaps required, but not indicated by the bylaws. But this board is only set by the structures of the bylaws given to us. And I mentioned that given to us because I'm not part of the board. But given by whom? By the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. This body has not had an opportunity to prepare its own bylaws, give input on its own bylaws, nor have they been allowed to submit amendments on the bylaws because every so often we have elections, there's moratoriums, we were on exhaustive efforts, they were going to be almost decertified. So most of the content in the bylaws specifically comes from the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. So all these questions that we have, which is lack of information, inconsistencies, lack of direction, lack of policy, lack of process, we're doing our best as volunteers. But all these still get diverted back to the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment because they are to guide us. We are volunteers, and they are supposed to provide the best information, ample information, so that we make the best decision. We are here to serve the stakeholders. And when I see these documents up on the screen up here, someone's questioning the legitimacy of the stakeholders. So that brings to me, is there legitimate stakeholders? What I have found, just based on the facts today, is that if we exclude some of the concerned signatures, it brings the petition down to 49. I counted it just a moment ago. But what it does is it doesn't say that the public didn't have the right to initiate this. At every step of the way, the stakeholder has the opportunity to address its body, us. Now again, maybe they didn't do it right. And at this time, I feel that maybe it may have been incomplete or have failed the threshold within the bylaws. As an individual, not as a board member, I have submitted grievances, at least a half dozen of them. I had been discouraged to participate in the process. I had been declined opportunity to have my own petitions heard, all through the discretion of the president, but through the direction of the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. We need to stand fast and serve the people. I have been a part of this neighborhood council for well over 10 years. And this leadership has been the least productive. What we need to ask is, what's our next step? My position is, as I counted, to claim, and I'm mentioning it to you guys, that the stakeholder initiative petition does not qualify any longer because of the questionable stakeholder signatures, and if you exclude them, once again it comes down to 49, which is not compliant with the bylaws. Now, is someone going to validate these signatures? I don't know. Maybe they should. Should they have done prior to being submitted? Obviously. But these are questions we all have to ask ourselves, and what's going to happen the next time? Never has a president been censured twice. Now, one time, the president has been censured once, way back in 2004. I was around. Yes, I was around. But now there's two of them. And what it means is one of them, the city attorney is saying, cannot be heard. So we cannot hear it, and it hasn't even been agendized. One we can hear, which is why we're here today. But what it shows is that the people out there asking to represent them still have dissatisfaction with our leadership. At this point, they are dissatisfied, but it doesn't meet the criteria that I feel is necessary to uphold a censorship. Perhaps we need to have better outlining in our bylaws. Maybe we have to explain to the stakeholders what is the best policy and practice to submit for the next time, and that we as a body do not allow the stakeholders to be dissatisfied with us. It is our responsibility as directors to step up, to be active, to be productive, to be progressive, and to outperform any other neighborhood council in the city. Right now, we're not shining. But I hope in the next election cycle, we have directors who are informed, who have experience, who have knowledge, and who have the best interest for the neighbors or the public. Mr. Chacon lives in the South region, but yes, he's my neighbor. I have fought for years for service for this community, and we would hope that the next election would bring good, smart, knowledgeable directors to this board so that we do not have to face these type of concerns or issues in the future. It is horrible that we have to actually address this. It should stop, and hopefully with the proper leadership, proper direction, that all this negativity and non-experience and doing whatever we think is okay without following the rules has to stop. So you guys heard my position. You guys can count on yourself. My vote is going to be no. Thank you.
Point of clarification. I believe that the last person that spoke meant petitions for censorship, not censorship. When he said the two, one that was not allowed, we're not allowed to hear. So you might want to correct the record for that. It was the petitions, not censures. You said censures.
Thank you. Michelle?
The power has been taken away from us. We're not able to make a decision because fear has been brought to us. And fear has been brought to us by the city attorney, who now at the last minute is giving us these emails to read right before we're about to hear the motion or the censure. We have the president who made assumptions. She hasn't brought facts that the signatures are not valid. She made an assumption, and she clearly said, I'm not sure, we're still looking into it. So if it's been 3 months since October, still looking into it, but didn't bring fact, where is Kevin Estrada? Just the way the president accused the petitioner, where is Kevin Estrada? Anyone can create a Yahoo or Gmail account and pretend to be Kevin Estrada and email myself, here we go. Is it really going to take that we need to go into IPA address and see how Kevin Estrada was created through a Gmail or a Yahoo? I'm speaking right now, and this is why we're out of order. I am speaking and she's giving comments over there. Go for it. Go for it. That's out of order. That's wrong. The petitioner brought proof to us. The petitioner is our customer, and we need to service the customer. The petitioner is not just him, it is 50 people. And we are not providing customers, then why do we swear oath to give customer to them? Because she's our friend and we hang around with her? Or because we think she's cool? Or because we're volunteers and we can violate the Brown Act whenever? Because we don't get paid? So does this show that whenever we go to anywhere, when we drive, I'm a volunteer, I don't get paid to take the red light, let me just take it. So whenever we're volunteers, we can break rules and break laws. When we're in an event, doing a volunteer event, we can treat people like, go into violation because I'm just a volunteer. I think we're adults here and we should know, especially the president should know how to follow the bylaws. It is in the description of our bylaws, which once again goes back to, we have no power in these bylaws. We could make all the amends and recommend it to Empower LA. When I took on this office, I said, no, it's not like that. I would hear Anthony and everyone always say, no, Empower LA, they do this. They do. I'm beginning to see it now. I'm beginning to see that they play the board the way they want us to and to hear us. And it is amazing how some of us are following that because they put the fear in us to not take a stand tonight. So let me just abstain until I get more information. I think enough information was brought forward by the petitioner, facts were brought forward, footage was shown, which you all can go to our website and view it. It is not something where, oh, let me audit and put the voice. No, it is there. It is proof, it is fact. Our bylaws clearly states initiative. Stakeholders must submit a petition with at least 50 signatures. It doesn't say region, name, address. So is that our fault? So is that his fault? Is that his fault that he followed our bylaws and collected the 50 signatures where it does not say here and should include a region and phone number and address? No, it doesn't. And it clearly says the petition shall include a paragraph of 50 words. So of course you're all wondering, well, what does that mean? It's a minimum. Even the president stood there and said, well, I can't even defend myself because I don't know. Well, then you as a president should have went quickly with your bylaws and say, fix this bylaws, amend them, and take care of them so we can service our customers, which is all of you sitting out there. So when we sit there and say, oh, so it's all of our fault. Yes, it's all of our faults. So what are we supposed to do when the violations are occurring? Ask the president, look at the bylaws. It says that she needs to follow the bylaws. That's why she's the president, or he's running the chair. Whenever you're chair, you put on the hat to make sure everything's going in order the way it should. If not, then educate yourself. Then have Empower LA take you through a training course of Robert's Rules and Brown Act. But do they do that? No. We requested Robert's Rules books and Brown Acts in the beginning on the wish list. Did they give it to us? No, they didn't. Have they sat with us and showed us 101 Robert's Rules? No, they didn't. We need to do that to ourselves? Or should the president say, you know what? We need to fix this. We need to protect our customer service. And it doesn't say that. It is clearly there on page 16. So the petitioner did his job according to our bylaws. And now we're going to turn our back from our customers because, well, it just doesn't sound right. It doesn't seem like, she's not guilty. She's guilty of what she did. My vote is yes. She is guilty. It is on footage and it is on facts on paper. So my vote will be yes. And I don't have no fear of, oh my God, what's going to happen? She's guilty. We have it before our hands, the paperwork and the footage. So my vote is yes.
It's not a proper petition.
Thank you.
Well, now I wasn't going to say anything because I really think this has turned into a circus, but I've been sort of deeply offended by the previous director's comments. The stakeholder had absolutely every right to come to us with the petition. It was placed on the agenda, and we heard it. That's it. We've done our due diligence. Any interpretation that any stakeholder coming to this board and saying, I want this to happen, that we should automatically do it, is ridiculous. Because if that's true, I wish this board would have put this kind of time and effort and service and the Cal State LA students that were here asking for money to get their education. Yes. To the community members who asked for money for the park. I wish this board would have put this kind of time and discussion and concern into the two girls that were murdered, the young man that was shot here. This is ridiculous. It's an embarrassment to this board. And if you're so concerned about serving stakeholders, then I hope everybody is willing to stay until midnight or as long as it takes to address all the other new business that actually affects the stakeholders of this community. I'm voting no on this.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're all tired. But I have a few questions in regards to the petition itself, only because we were told to hear this. The city asked us to do this. Now the petition was brought to us as a censure, so we have no other choice. I'm not an attorney, but I do have some questions because for the question document unit from LAPD, do you have the report, Marlene?
Oh, I'm sorry, I have to go.
The question document unit from LAPD, you brought that up, and you said that there was a report, or you're working and to try to confirm the signatures.
No, what I said was that these are concerns that I've already brought to the city's attorney's office, and I will probably have to expend my own money, in which I plan to do.
Okay. Then the other question I have for you is in regards to, the agenda setting. I know you kept saying the board and the executive committee, and again, this isn't personal, but I had a lot of concerns regarding that because I did see you do a lot of determination on the agenda on your own. But my question to you is, when it came to the board, okay, we don't go to every single executive committee meeting. When it came to the board, we're reviewing this in good faith, thinking that the executive did their job. And so we're reviewing these items. So the Derby doll letter, I know you sent me an email asking me what happened. I didn't know there was questions in regards to the executive committee, how it got on the agenda. I just know that it was on the general board agenda as it's supposed to be from the executive committee. So I took that in good faith. And I voted on that based that it went through the proper process. The other question I have for you is in regards to the board member removal. I know this has been brought up because I brought it up. I think we're here so many hours at a time, at every meeting, and when board members don't come, it's, what purpose are we here for then, right? We're here for long hours. So my question is the removal of the two board members. You immediately got two board members, and the perception that I interpret it is it basically was board members who didn't favor you were automatically removed. That's why I made an issue about it, and I said I want to know why. Why only a few are being removed and the others are staying? Prime example. I mentioned after the meeting, Mr. Chavez, no offense, Mr. Chavez, but you missed 3 meetings. And I brought that up. Our bylaws clearly state. My concern is the structure. If we're following the structure and we maintain to our rules, there's no way we can go out of line because we're following what our bylaws tells us to do. And as the president, if you had any questions or concerns regarding the clarity to it, standing rules should have been created. We're spending hours listening to the censure, and I gotta tell you honestly, with all the emails from the attorney calling personal liability or not, thing is, were there violations? And we're not saying all of them, but now we're here sitting as judges and saying, now we're gonna determine whether she's guilty or not. Really? Since when did we become attorneys? Since when did we become judges? My job was to help the community, to encourage people to come to our meetings. And we're sitting here listening to items, and you know what? I don't want to say it's not a good thing. Petitioners have the right to file their petitions. 50 signatures, it's all that our bylaw says. They have the right to do it. It's the city's fault for not clarifying the bylaws they imposed on us. Right? It's the city's fault. That's how I feel. Now, all of a sudden, this petition was submitted 3 months ago, and all of a sudden now, at 4:48, we get emails from the city attorney saying, hold on, don't listen to that. You gotta be careful with what you're doing because you're personally liable or could be. 3 months it took you to finally, after all the emails that I was sending, asking for clarification? And then worse, we were told we needed a legal liaison. And guess who the legal liaison was? That the attorney appointed himself, not the board, but the board president who was being questioned in regards to her conduct. Now this? So it's like, at the end of the day, just for the record, I got attacked on Facebook, and several community members were involved in it. And no one, the city attorney told me this, I had no right to file any legal action against
She's out of order. She's supposed to address you. She's looking at the audience.
I'm a public official. I had no right. I couldn't do anything about it. That's what I was told. All of a sudden now, I'm personally liable for something, the bylaws that the city gave us. I just want the stakeholders to know where we are. We're put in this situation because of the bylaws that were given to us. So in regards to the question document unit, I want to know about that. I also want to know what is the process, and this is going to go back to the city attorney, the process in regards to how we're supposed to be verifying the signatures.
How to make
That's
a
all.
proper,
And
how to make a proper petition.
Exactly. Those are my questions.
I'm sorry, only because I have to leave. I have to pick up my daughter in San Gabriel by 9. I'm already going to be late. Just to go back and just to offer some clarification before I leave and before you take your vote. You say that the Derby doll issue, that you had no idea. There was about an hour and a half long discussion about it. Anthony stood up and grieved it. I believe Mr. Johnson also did. Yeah, Capricia was chairing that meeting, and there was a huge discussion about it, so you were well aware of it, and you did still vote to approve it.
What I'm asking you, and I'm asking you is when you said that it came to the general board, you said the committee already voted on it. Your committee voted on that. And that the board took action on it. We did. We took action on it based on the item was put on the general board agenda from the executive committee. I'm not questioning in regards to the issue because I voted for it. Because I thought it went through the process. That's my question.
The Derby doll came to the executive meeting and asked for the support, brought the letter, already had emailed it. I believe it was even forwarded to me by the treasurer. And the committee, executive committee, voted to place it on the agenda. That was not my own discretion. And you're saying that you sat in one meeting in which, I think you're referring to the Anthony thing, that everything he was saying, I was using my discretion on where to get it. But at the very end of every single executive agenda meeting, there's a motion to approve the agenda as submitted. At that point, any executive committee member can say, I object, I believe that this motion should go on there. And then we would discuss it, and if we all vote on it, it goes on there. I don't set it at my own discretion. Every single end to every single executive committee ends with a motion to approve the agenda. I'm sorry, but I have to go, so I'm gonna leave you guys to your vote.
June?
And also, I'm not done, just to also clarify the legal stuff. I have no intention on filing anything against any board member. That is nothing I would ever, absolutely never do. No matter what you say up here, a number of you have said a number of things to me. I don't care about that. I have way thicker skin than that. But legally, when your name is put on a piece of paper and I am gonna call them untruths, and it's sent around the community, that's defamation. And there is a line for politicians. And if it's even a little bit true, I'll even acknowledge Mr. Johnson's. That's why I couldn't do anything for him. He wrote about me initially. He wrote about my being terminated. He wrote about my 1 DUI, not 2. So please stop insinuating on your paper that there's 2 because there's not. There's 1 5 years ago. I couldn't refute any of that or do any legal action because there's partial truths to that. What was put on these papers, there's no truth to it. So legally, I do have that option. And it's not against anybody. It's against the petitioners. Thank you.
June? I never forwarded her nothing of what she just said. I never forwarded her. The executive committee, we sat there, Vodka from the Derby Dolls came forward, gave a public comment, and then she says, well, does anybody want to give me a motion? Of course, we don't have footage, because after that meeting, that's when I listened to the stakeholder and board directors who told me, can you start recording the executive meetings? That is why we started recording the executive meetings, because of that violation that she made. She sat there and she looked and said, does anybody want to move that motion to put them on the agenda? And of course, Dama, who works for the Derby Dolls now, makes the motion. And Capricia seconds it, right? It got on the agenda without being on the executive agenda. You do not put that on the agenda. You don't do that. And she violated it. So when she sits there and says, no, I'm not guilty. Of course, where are the minutes to the executive meeting? Our recording secretary, Louisiana, decides to tell the president, it is not in my job description on the bylaws to do minutes for the executive. So now her president and vice president are doing minutes. Where are those minutes? They're not on the website. Where I didn't interrupt you, I'm speaking. Thank you. I'm speaking. No one's talking to you right now. Thank you. Thank you. So where are those minutes? Especially they're being requested. They were requested, did she give them, did she provide them? Did she put them on the website? No. Where are those minutes? They just disappeared because of course, if those minutes were there, it would clearly state that Vodka Derby Dolls was not on the agenda, but she came and she spoke, and nothing against the Derby Dolls, they're great people, but it's not their fault that they don't know the procedure on how to put things on the agenda. She shouldn't have put it on the agenda. Simple. That's a fact. She doesn't have fact on these signatures are legit or not. I would like to ask June, the petitioner, to clarify those two co-workers that came up on that screen. So if you can write down and ask the petitioner, who are those two co-workers? Where did they come from? Are they really out-of-state people, or do they live right here down the street? Ask them that. I think you should all know. What is it? I like to know. I don't even know myself. I like to know. And second of all, for the record, we do have here signatures and footage of the 3 absences within 12 years of the at-large board director. So that's a fact. According to our bylaws, 3 absences within a 12-month period. And it is 3 absences right here where we've been tallying it up. 2 of them on footage and 1 of them did not sign. So this is not things that the community petitioner is making up or isn't true. It is there. It is there.
Thank you. 1 second. Before we go on, it's after 9 o'clock. We either have to make a motion or we have to adjourn.
Make a motion to extend the meeting for half an hour more. Somebody
Second.
Okay, motion by Chavez, seconded. All in favor of the extension?
Finish this thing.
May we have a 5-minute recess before this extension?
Ooh, we're running on the clock and we gotta pay for being here.
We have to leave the building.
Did you get my question?
How much does it cost for each additional minute?
Quite a bit.
$22 an hour.
Any opposing the
$20
extension?
an hour? I'll pay
Any
for it now.
opposing the extension?
No problem.
I just
Any
want to say
opposed?
one thing before I go as a stakeholder. I think that it's very sad
1 second.
that the
Thank you.
council
Thank
is
you.
arguing.
Go ahead.
He has a right to a comment.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with that. Go ahead and read your comment.
We're already voted. Last time, you guys already have done a lot of
It was already a motion, we voted for it, and the time was extended. Sorry, Mr. Checo.
I seconded it, I just didn't read the vote at all, because
Move on, we're wasting time. Get out of there.
My question, you got it right, you got the petitioner, thank you.
Yes. So with that said, we're gonna extend the meeting till 9:30, I'm sorry. So with the extensive, most of the question, there were no question, there were mostly comments. I think there were only 2 questions that were submitted. One, I think Mr. Chacon and Marlene had answered his question.
I have a question to define the yes.
I understand it, would you let me finish?
Thank you.
And the other question was yours, whether if you vote yes or whether you vote no, what are you voting for? Before we go any further, I would like to read the email that was submitted by the Department of Labor Department that was in question, that was sent to us at 4:48 p.m. today. It says the center motion currently before the board states, motion that LA 32 Neighborhood Council Censor Marlene Fonseca for numerous violations of conduct including but not limited to Brown Act violations, action items not on the agenda, concurring a violation within 30 days of the bylaws, a non-removal of directors using their own discretion to set an agenda. Your board lacks authority to censor the president for violations of the Brown Act. Violations of the Brown Act must be addressed under the procedure stated in the state law. Moreover, violations of the Brown Act are against the entire board. The allegations that the president may be censored for using discretion when setting the agenda may not also be considered for the board. The president has the absolute discretion under the bylaws to set the agenda. Then the executive committee assists the president and approves the agenda for the regular board meetings. The only plausible bias for continuing with the censure against the president is the allegation that the president did not follow Article 5, Section 7 of our bylaws regarding removal of the directors. So I'd like to have clarification from the department. So what you're stating here is that we cannot,
City attorney.
the city attorney, I'm sorry. So if we vote, if we make it a decision here, or a decision on the censor, it's not based on the Brown Act violations?
No, well, are you recording?
We need clarification on this because we're about to vote on this and we need to know what exactly, what are you going to be voting for?
According to your agenda, read your agenda, what's the motion in your agenda right now?
It's the same motion that was submitted by the Department of Labor and Employment.
Which motion?
It says motion that LA2 Neighborhood Council sends.
Oh, same one on the, you have one, I don't have a copy.
Which?
Yeah, so because the motion addresses Brown Act violations, right?
Yes.
And there, you just read clearly there that the city attorney said that, any allegation, any violation of the Brown Act, it is a violation against one person, cannot be, should not be considered.
So we just have to amend that motion and remove the Brown Act. If that's the way they want, if the board wants to just go for bylaws.
She's out of order, Mr. President.
I'm not
You're not
asking for
recognized, we're not
clarification.
recognized by the
Mr.
chair.
Chavez.
She's out of order.
Mr. Chavez.
You don't allow me to speak up like he does. I want it on camera there.
This is the second time you're out of order.
Yeah,
Mr.
but you
Chavez.
don't allow me to say, but you allow her to interrupt every time
Mr. Chavez.
without you recognizing
I'm
her.
asking.
If it comes to the Brown Act, you guys do take action on it, then it's not gonna stand.
She can talk all she wants.
So the question is, so only thing that we can vote for is for the non-removal of the directors. Is that what you're stating in your email?
Well, whatever that's part one. Once again, it's an email that it's an email that was forwarded to me, that was forwarded to the board. Once again, I want to clarify, this is advice from the city attorney, right? So the second part, it gives you the steps on, if you wanted to talk about the removal process, the steps are in there on how you guys would take action on that.
Point of clarification, Chair.
Yes.
For the sake of time, and there were 3 questions that they asked. Unless the board wants to, and we can't dismiss it, obviously, because it's a stakeholder initiative, but maybe create an ad hoc committee and have the committee review those 3 questions that the city attorney is asking us. We can't dismiss it. Am I right? The stakeholder initiative cannot be dismissed. It has to be either you move forward with the partial censure, the full censure, or you don't dismiss it. You just
Well,
don't agree with it.
I think the city attorney, there was another petition that was given where they found grounds to dismiss that one, I think, right?
Yeah, but
So there's a-
Yeah, they didn't dismiss this one.
I mean, you brought a petition here, the motion to censor is here, right? But your board will decide, your board will decide whether or not to, go forward with the censor or not. Now, if you go forward with, once again, per the city attorney's rules and regulations, is that if you do go forward with the Brown Act, we're going to censor Marlene per the Brown Act violations, then the email that y'all received, the Brown Act violation, it will not stand. Because the violation, once again, the violation is against the board.
Point of clarification again there.
But we're not doing, because obviously the city attorney already said Brown Act is not, but what about the bylaw violation of the non-removal of directors? If I feel there's a partial, obviously there is a partial note to that, can't we amend that motion, remove the Brown Act violation, and just listen to the non-removal of directors?
Acting Chair, if you want to read just for the second portion of the email from the letter, that gives the process on how to handle the removal process.
Yeah.
You want to read it for the board, just to?
He only has partial.
Okay, so let me read it then. Okay, this is,
Thank you.
for the record, Thompson reading this on behalf of the city attorney, the advice I was given. Under this bylaw provision, the president is required to notify board members who reach the requisite absences that the board member is removed. However, the president may only provide this notice if the board has kept proper minutes and approved those proper minutes, evidencing the specific board members that have been absent, and the board has determined in the minutes that the member has satisfied the requirements for removal under the bylaws. I understand that a question was raised last fall regarding removal, and your board was advised to have the matter agendized for determination of whether removal should occur, and your board determined not to remove the individual. If this is the instance that is basis for the alleged censure, then the board is prohibited from censuring the president for the board's ultimate decision in not removing the board member. So that's the paragraph regarding removals.
Can you explain it in brief English, please?
Well, long story short, I guess I wasn't here for this, but I guess last year you guys tried to do like a removal censure, and the board decided not to remove the person that was put on the.
I made the motion for that.
Yeah, so I don't.
Yeah, but because there's questions behind it, but in this situation, it's not those two board members that are in question, it's now, we still have Ruben Chavez, who technically has already had those 3 absences, and if I remember correctly, we do have record keeping in regards to the signatures. And that's the point, is if we don't maintain order or structure, and we don't abide by these rules, then basically we do whatever we want. And the board president can do whatever they want. That's my promise. We need to stick to the rules, show precedent so that moving forward, anyone who decides to be the board president knows they're accountable and responsible for their actions. So, regarding the bylaw violation, that's where I would think, or create an ad hoc committee just to review that section and make an amendment to remove the bylaw.
I mean, the challenge is this for you guys. If I could just kind of like, I know it's getting kind of late, and then we could go forth with, was the petition valid? Was this done correctly? The violations, and I get that, right? And the challenge is this: is that I'm careful to kind of give my own opinions to this, because ultimately it's your board that has to make that decision. And that's why I stray away from, you guys should do X, Y, and Z. But now, I think ultimately you guys have to kind of figure out, from your perspective, what do you guys kind of want moving forward, okay? Things have maybe not done correctly in the past, right? And then ultimately, based on your bylaws, a lot of focus is put on the president. And have things been done right? Probably, yes or no, right? Have committee members done things right? Yes or no? Does that excuse bad behavior? No. But ultimately, where do you guys want to go from here in terms of there's 2 or 3 more months until the next administration? Anthony alluded to that. Hey, look, you guys didn't come here as stakeholders, as board members here to do this, right? And I think ultimately you guys want what's the best for the community, right? And what I heard in the conversations a lot today is, that sometimes the city attorney and the department can be stifling and not being that supportive. And I get that, and I get that point. I guess my ultimately, you guys have many things on the agenda to fund, many things with elections that you guys are going to take care of. And going forward in a spirit of cooperation and working together as the board. Okay, mistakes have been made. Okay, so what do you guys want to go from here going forward? I guess that's why the only time I will kind of interject is, you guys came up here, and trust me, okay, a lot of times, look, I'd rather have you guys be all unified and be upset at the department than with each other, okay? I'd rather have that. Is that fair to us? Okay, but I do have to say this too. I really have to say this, okay? You guys who've been here for a long time know the budget cuts that we've been to. Okay, we were down to 3 project coordinators for 96 neighborhood councils for a while. So trust me when I say this, we do not wake up in the morning and say, how can we make your council's life miserable? Okay, you guys have to understand that the things that we try to do, it's not a conspiracy against your board. Okay, we have nothing to gain by that. Okay, we have nothing to gain for, staff member to be here to kind of for this. One of the reasons why we're here is we want to move you guys forward. Okay, can there be improvements from the department? You betcha. But ultimately, I think for you guys, I think the broad scope you want to look at, look, mistakes were made, things were said tonight that maybe had to be aired out and get through. So where do you want to go from here moving forward? That's my battle cry to you guys, right? The main two purposes, which you guys did, where you guys signed up to do this, is not to hear grievances, or maybe it is, okay? But then is to get more people involved and to make government more responsive. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Mazzano?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think the best thing we could do right now is understanding the community's and board members' dissatisfactions. Obviously, there has been failures. I've submitted countless of grievances myself, knowing that there's numerous violations, from the Brown Act, to the bylaws, to the code of conduct, to following Robert's Rules of Order, to the procedures, to the near decertification, because you guys run exhaustive efforts, to not listening to the stakeholders, to following the direction of Dunn, to reducing the size of the board. There's a whole list of negativity that surrounded this recent administration. The truth, I would say, it is being all directed towards the president. And honestly, if she was still here, I'd say it. She failed. The neighborhood council appears to be failing. And that's what brings the dissatisfaction from the stakeholders. I know this, because I initiated more than a half dozen of them. But what it is we have to make a decision, like what Tom is mentioning. What is the final result? I think we've already achieved the result, showing that the board needs to be more productive and more, I'd say, appealing to the stakeholders. We have a good amount of people out there, over a dozen today. We need to continue to invite them to be part of the process, to be involved in our meetings, to come up with great ideas, great programs, great activities for the community. But with the lack of leadership, it was difficult to present these ideas as a stakeholder, because there's still some out there today that have future ideas, good programs for the kids, safety programs, emergency preparedness programs, activities for the parks. But watching what we're doing up here, it discourages them from participating. It almost even discourages me, being here almost after 10 years, to say, do I still want to do this? But I understand that not every president will be in the same position as this president, being guided, manipulated, twisted, and tugged to do the service of the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment. It's not all their fault. It's the fault of these board members here and directors here, some that are learning that we have to stand on ourselves, be strong for the neighbors, follow our bylaws, and serve the people. I don't think it's going to help us to punish our president. It's not our incentive, it's not going to be our benefit. But it does show the dissatisfaction that we've had of the president. So I would still say we could move on, take the board vote, I'm taking the minutes, and we will progress from here. Because during the next election cycle, which is just 2 or 3 months out from now, May the 21st, we will have better representation for the people. Yes, we were sort of stuck with this representation, and many of us don't want it, and that is what the stakeholders are asking for. Do something with the president. Not just now, not just last week or last month, but from the beginning. It's been going on for 2 years. I've watched this. I've participated in this. Today is the day that it ends. What we're going to do is take a position. We all have to be, suck it up, I guess, or take a punch in the belly and say that's the way it is. You know, I mean, it's just the way it is. But it doesn't mean that we cannot learn from this, and hopefully it doesn't continue. Thank you.
Mr. Pacheco?
Change the bylaws.
No, he had us on.
You know, because I was involved in the unions and I was a VP and all that, and also in my corporate background, you've got to listen to your attorneys. You have to listen to your attorneys. The only attorney we can afford, that I can afford, is the city attorney. So I'm looking for the city attorney to tell us what to do. That's why I'm trying to abstain. But I'm also upset because we spend so much time, like you said, doing these things. We had a directive from the president of the city council to talk about the water rates. That was never put on our agenda. And that's because of the way the bylaws are structured. The president sets the agenda. Again, we have a president that happens to be a union rep for the city, right? We're talking about DWP. I don't know how that falls into place. But we haven't talked about that. That's a 20% increase in rates. Yet we're talking about this. I wish we could have gotten over this a long time, but we can't seem to get the direction. And I'll be honest with you, neither for the department, and yes, it's true, you even cut your budgets, but it also means to me, does the city government really care about us? Because if they keep cutting your department, and if they're supposed to be empowering us, it doesn't seem like we're going to get any more empowerment. On top of that, we got a city attorney that seems that over and over again, they're there to defend the city officials, the government, not us, the volunteers.
Okay, let me clarify.
Okay.
We should continue with this. We can talk offline on this, but you are part of the city.
Okay, thank you for calling, Mr. Pacheco. Mr. Chavez, and you will be the last. We only have 5 more minutes. We extended till 9:30. We need to make a vote on
Okay, you're
this.
taking my time. I'm gonna leave it 9:30. You're taking my time. Hang on. Hello. Okay. Mr. Pacheco just alluded that he was a union member at some time. There's a stakeholder back there that keeps creating of our president being a member of a union and trained and this and that, and he keeps saying it on the negative end, not on the pleasant. You know, as our treasurer over there keeps using the word or phrase, fear, fear. You can hear right now, a little while ago, this lady sitting kitty corner from me has used my name, Ruben Chavez being absent. What kind of fear she's trying to get on you guys? How bad guy I am. My third violation was they had a meeting. I called in that I was going to be late. You know what? They didn't have quorum. They said we were not having quorum because of the 21. I'm clearly it's part of the thing. Okay? Because I'm replying to what she said. Okay, that day that I came, I did show up. As I told them I was coming in, I had a traffic problem on the freeway, which caused me to be late. And because they didn't have quorum, they ended the meeting. I still showed up. And they said, well, we ended the meeting. You didn't show up. And that's where my third violation is. Okay? Anyway, the other thing is, as you can tell, it is personalized. You've heard the anger from the certain people here already. Okay? And what have you. Well, they have that right to express that anger. Because to them, those violations occurred to them personally. So I respect that. That doesn't, we have to agree to disagree. Okay? So I respect very much what those people said in terms of a negative end against the president. Okay? So, let's see. Well, the reason we were in exhaustive efforts, as you heard right here, alluding to you, standing right here, he's sitting down right now taking notes, is because when he was president, it caused us to get into exhaustive, they were going to cancel and throw away this LA 32 neighborhood in the trash can.
Okay, guys, this is what we...
No, they need to know. They don't know, but he sounds over here so pretty and so nice. It was because of him, and when he was treasurer, that really sunk us into the trash can. Okay? It was you that started all this garbage.
Excuse me, I have a question here. As a stakeholder, do I get to vote on the status of this president?
Good, I wish you would, sir, with all due respect.
Okay, so this is a vote between the board members, right?
That is correct.
Fine.
Enough garbage.
Then don't try to give me a sales, then don't give me a sales
We're
pitch.
going to have the petitioner come up. Can you please answer the question regarding the stakeholders that we're going to be...
I'm only going to take 1 minute of your time because I'm sure you guys are just frustrated as I am. Okay, first of all, for my coworkers, okay, I work for a certain company where we are fieldly and remote. I also head of certain special projects. To be a stakeholder in the community, you need to either live, work, or own some kind of property, and you guys know the deal, okay? Each month, those 3 coworkers must come and work from my home for 5 days. They work in El Sereno. Okay, now, also.
Real quick, how many of them were there? How many?
I'm sorry?
How many stakeholders did that?
I believe that's 3 on there.
3.
Okay, so that, I mean, I have a bunch of, so far, what I was counting goes from 49 to 52. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, that being said, okay, I just want to tell you guys, I'm sorry that you guys all wasted your nights and these people behind me's nights on my account. My intention was not for this, but I believe my intention was reached. It was heard, it was known. And I guarantee you, from now on, the president will follow the rules. She broke them. She was setting agendas wrongly. We all know that. We all know that from Anthony's grievances. We all know that. Okay? There will be no more vague agendas. There will be, make sure she has decorum. She'll never laugh at another stakeholder again. And on and on and on. And you've seen all those video clips I showed. Okay? You guys feel free to drop this because I think the point came across. And not only for her, but for the rest of you as a board, and especially you guys that chair committees. When you go back to your committees, you will not violate those same rules. I guarantee you, you will not violate Brown Act. You will make sure you try to read on Brown Act and Robert's rules and your bylaws when you go back to your chairs. That was my point of bringing this across. Not to try to slander her or any of that stuff. That was not. How else can my voice as a stakeholder be heard? When people are up here in public commenting, you guys laugh at them. When Anthony walks up, he disrespects him. When Scott comes up, other people laugh. Marlene says, hey, look at this person writing about you. And that was my point. But I guarantee you, after this and tonight, because you guys will remember tonight, I guarantee you, because you just wasted your life. Just like everybody else here. You will remember that in your future meetings. So just please knock out this vote and just let's go home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Why don't you drop it? Why don't you drop it?
Okay, board members, we have had discussion on
It was
this.
brought together by 61 stakeholders in there, okay? And if you are questioning the validity, sorry, I'm tired, of people's signatures or their sobriety, I can't attest to that. I'm not walking around with a breathalyzer.
Thank you. Again, board members, we have discussion on this. We've heard from both sides. We've had a comment from the neighborhood parliament. Now it's time for us to take a vote on this.
Thank you.
So we will be voting. Motion, the LA 32 Neighborhood Council censure President Marlene Fonseca for numerous violations and conduct including not limited to Brown Act violations, actions and items not on non-agenda, and not occurring a violation within 30 days of bylaws. Article 5, Section 7, non-removal of directors and using own discretion when setting agenda. This is what we're voting on. This is what, they gave us a recommendation, this is what they said we can do. This is what the motion reads, this is what I'm reading.
Should have more than that.
So what I'm saying is that this is what the motion reads, and this is what we're voting on. We did get an email from the Department of Mayor Park, but this is not what's on the agenda. That's not what's on the, this is what's on the agenda. So we're gonna be voting on this, let's get this over with, and let's move on.
The yes, no, and
If yes, then she's in violation of all the violations. If no, then she's not. So,
we can drop it.
Mr., this will be so with that said, this will be
Can you just drop it?
Or you wanna just?
Call names better.
Just drop it.
Can you just drop it? Make a motion to drop it?
This will be a hand count or board member tabulation.
Well, wait a minute, she made a comment, if everybody abstains, what happens then?
Okay, ready for the vote? Hugo Pacheco?
Wait a minute,
Hold
I'm not clear on the voting. If we all abstain, what does that mean?
You know that already, come
No, I don't, that's why I'm asking.
Maybe you should be a board member then.
Hugo Pacheco. Can you recognize?
Or Mr. Chacon, please.
In our bylaws, does it not state that if we abstain, it still goes to the yes?
No.
It doesn't say that. So we had an argument about that before.
Yes, that was clarified. That was clarified.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hugo Pacheco?
You forgot one.
I'm going to abstain.
Cynthia Sandoval?
I'm going to abstain.
Manuel Chacon?
Yes, if it means it's,
Means to what?
censure means yes.
Yes.
To drop it, no is a no. What do you want to do? That's a
You said yes.
yes is to a what?
I'm gonna pass
Back
it
to
to
Ruben, back to Ruben say, do we not understand exactly
What
Go
is,
ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Yes.
Yes. Anthony Manzano?
No.
Victor Junayala.
Abstain.
Yoli Garcia.
No.
Jennifer Markovich.
No.
Michelle Corsantes. Yes. Ruben Chavez.
No!
Angela Duarte. 244.
What happened? We should get the whip out or we get the whip out?
Can you clarify to the stakeholders what is no and what is yes?
See, I
We
told
just
you.
did.
Don't you love her?
Yeah, Yoli said no.
Doesn't pass, let's go. Doesn't pass.
Go ahead, announce it. I gave you the vote.
Drop it.
The vote was 244.
Vote was 244, motion does not pass.
What does that mean? It dies or censure, all of that?
Motion does not pass, Mr. President.
Motion to adjourn.
I'd like to make a motion to extend the meeting to 10 o'clock to do the business of this board.
I second that.
You made a motion to adjourn.
You guys just know that at 10 o'clock you have to walk out. They lock the doors, so you can't be here at 10.
He's right, he's right.
I'm leaving.
Is that correct what you just said?
Yeah, call for it.
That, I'd like to rescind my motion, if that's
I
correct.
rescind the second. I make a motion to have a special meeting. I made a motion to.
And without discussion.
Yeah, that is true also.
Everything second, everything from here.
Well, second.
Second. Motion adjourned.
What do you say?
Hey, you guys, let's help stir up this business because we gotta be out of here at 10 o'clock.
Table and chairs can remain where they're at because they'll use them tomorrow for our meeting. All we need to do is put away our equipment. If you'd like to help us wrap,
If that's everything with wires and speakers, it's ours.
Let's be
Everything
careful
on the
and
floor.
not dropping anything, please. If we're gonna help, don't drop stuff. Don't drop stuff, be very careful with it. This is very fragile equipment.
Have I dropped it before?
I see.
I'll do my best not to.
Never was Brody. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you, you made the day. We need more stakeholders like you.
Next time I'm showing up without the beer, just a minute.
Already recognized.
Specific directions, I will help you. I don't know what's wrong.
Let me show you real quick, over here, young man. Here, young man, send him over here, let me show you what to do. You can get all these, you can get all this, it just goes like that, and the same thing with, you follow on that, I'm looking the same way. It's the same filter.
each one has a
Each one. And then just put them on a table somewhere and we'll all collect them, people will know what to do.
Okay, where's the rabbit?
Right here.
Just like that? Okay. They don't tangle like that?
Thank you.
Good, sure.
Thank you for your help, Mr. Chavez. Let me think, Mr. No, I have his.
I'm thinking you some little country.
Put them in between two of these.
There's these, where are they? Here, put the microphone in the bags.
Use that church for the yard. All the way in New York, you'll see a couple of more.
Oh, he's gonna tell me, he said that shouldn't have happened. Oh, sure, before you put this, we gotta combine that. One quick beer. Thank you, thank you.
Sure. You guys are for that, so something happens.
Says wait until they get the other stuff in.
Okay. Who knows how it is, because she's here all the time, but leave that for last.
Okay.
If something happens, it's recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I got.